Chapter 795. The darkness of dawn shrouded the world as a green light flashed by. Danji, who had escaped from Ingui sect, kept moving east to avoid the pursuit of the other Ingui heavenly concubines. Ingui sect's 9 heavenly concubines each had their own strengths. Although Danji was ranked 4th, she was good at alchemy and not martial arts. Her strength was relatively low among the 9 heavenly concubines. Behind her, Meiji, Qinji, and Jianji, the 3 strongest heavenly concubines of Ingui sect, moved out at the same time. Their speed became faster and faster as they quickly approached the fleeing Ingui traders. In the east, dawn gradually arrived and the darkness was dispelled. Danji's eyes became brighter and brighter as she looked forward. Her figure didn't stop for a moment. 10 miles away, in the desolate primitive land, ancient trees coiled up into the clouds. In the blink of an eye, Danji's figure flashed and quickly disappeared. Big sister. Qinji and Jinji saw this and called out. Yes. Meiji sighed and nodded. She stepped forward and stood in the air. Soon after, red mist filled her body, and flames rose as she descended from the sky. In an instant, the entire primitive land was covered in flames. The scarlet flames burned everything. It was a terrifying scene. Qinji and Jinji looked down and didn't dare to be careless. Although 4th sister's cultivation wasn't as good as theirs, she had many tricks up her sleeves. Otherwise, the saintess wouldn't have sent the 3 of them. Below, in the raging sea of fire, green mist rose and spread out along with the waves of fire that soared into the sky. Dodge! Meiji's expression changed slightly as she reminded them. When Qinji and Jinji heard this, they immediately retreated to avoid the green mist that filled the sky. At this moment, a streak of light flashed through the mist and quickly went away. 4th sister, you can't escape. Qinji's eyes narrowed. She waved her left hand and a zither appeared. The zither strings vibrated, and a profound sound surged out like waves. 3,000 meters away, Danji staggered. Affected by the profound sound, her blood and qi violently surged. Jinji's figure flashed, and a sword light came at her with a speed as fast as purple lightning. With a slash, the sword light cut through her clothes and brought out a waterfall of blood. Danji flipped her palm and counterattacked. Her body shook violently, and she retreated a dozen steps before using the momentum to rush forward again. Chase! Qinji put away her zither and continued to chase. Meiji and Jianji didn't hesitate as they quickly followed. In the east, the sun rose, and the first rays of the morning sun shone down on the earth. It was so warm. Under the first rays of the morning sun, there was a ruthless pursuit. In front of him, a beautiful figure was continuously fleeing. Her left shoulder was dyed red, and drops of blood dripped down. It was extremely dazzling. 5 kilometers, 100 kilometers. Danji didn't know how long she had fled, or how far she had fled. But she didn't dare to stop for even a moment. She stuffed one pill after another into her mouth, forcibly improving her body. Behind him, the 3 Ingui heavenly concubines were chasing after him. 1,000 miles away, in front of the towering heavens pass, the path forward was blocked. Danji turned around and hurriedly changed directions, but it was already too late. 4th sister, I've already warned you not to do anything stupid. Why didn't you listen? Meiji stood in front of her. She looked at the woman in green and sighed softly. You're also a woman. You should know why I'm leaving. If you still care about our sisterhood, please let me live, said Danji gravely. Hearing this, Meiji fell silent. After a moment, she shook her head and said, I'm sorry. If I can't bring you back, not only me, but even 5th sister and 7th sister will be implicated. You know the punishment for failure of the mission in the sect. We can't bear it. Big sister, don't waste words with her. She's already a traitor of Ingui sect. Quickly capture her and report back, said Jianji coldly. Ding! On the other side, Qinji played her zither, and a profound sound reverberated. With a thump, the profound sound arrived. Danji retreated several steps, blood silently dripping from the corner of her mouth. There was no turning back. Danji took out a purple-black pill from her bosom and stuffed it into her mouth. Her eyes instantly turned black, and 2 drops of black blood silently flowed out. Not good. Meiji's expression changed and she hastily said, Hurry and stop her. Just as she finished speaking, a shocking scene occurred. Around Danji's body, black chi kept roaring and swallowing the heavens and earth. Within 100 miles, all the flowers and trees withered, and all life was extinguished. Jianji and Qinji retreated several steps from the impact. Their faces were filled with shock. Not daring to delay any longer, Jianji's figure flashed, and the long sword in her hand turned into a thunderbolt. The sword's momentum was shocking, and it broke through the void. Danji looked over, and her bloodshot eyes were cold. She raised her hand, and directly grabbed the sword's edge. Then, with a thump, her palm imprinted on the former's chest. A pool of blood splashed out, and Jianji's body flew back. She staggered several steps and vomited a mouthful of blood, dyeing the ground red. Qinji's expression changed. Her right hand pulled the zither's 7 strings, and a torrent of undercurrents surged. The shocking power destroyed the ground, and the dust was like an ocean. As the profound sound approached, Danji did not dodge. She took the heavy blow and stepped forward. Her left hand that was covered in blood grabbed the zither, and her right hand clenched into a palm. Qinji raised her hand to block the palm, but she felt an unshakable power. Her body flew back and smashed into the ground. In a short breath's time, the 2 heavenly concubines were heavily injured, and their bodies were covered in blood. "Fourth sister, why do you have to do this?" As she sighed helplessly, Meiji had unknowingly arrived behind her. Her palm imprinted on the former's shoulder. Ugh! With a groan, Danji staggered and black blood flowed out from her mouth. Without saying a word, she dashed out and countered with a palm strike. Meiji grabbed the former's arm, and her other hand clenched onto the former's chest. With a thump, blood splattered everywhere. At such a close distance, Danji's eyes glowed with black brilliance. The black blood in the wound on her chest turned into strange threads and wrapped around the woman's body. "Even if I die, I don't want to die in Yinggui's sect." Danji raised her hand to seal her veins and said weakly. At the same time, the palm energy and sword gleam came from behind and pierced into her shoulders. Danji turned around and looked at the 2 of them. Her black eyes revealed a smile, and she endured the pain. She clenched her fists and sent the 2 of them flying. "Eldest sister, 5th sister, 7th sister, goodbye." As soon as she finished speaking, Danji took a step forward and headed east. Qinji and Jianji wanted to chase after her, but their injuries were too heavy. They vomited a mouthful of red blood, and their bodies became unstable. Looking in the direction Danji had left in, Meiji's red mist surged, shaking off the black threads that wrapped around her body. Her eyes flashed with sadness. "Fourth sister, I hope you can live happily in the remaining time." "Eldest sister, do we still chase?" Qinji and Jianji stepped forward and asked. "There's no time. Let's go back and report. Fourth sister has already eaten the yellow spring pill. She won't survive." Meiji sighed. "Okay." Qinji and Jianji nodded. 300 miles away, a large river flowed east. Suddenly, a woman covered in blood fell from the sky. Her blood spread and dyed the surrounding water black. Chapter 796. The sun rose and set. It was a cold night. Danji, who had been unconscious for the whole night, moved her fingers and slowly opened her eyes. His eyes, which were as black as ink, returned to normal. However, they had already lost their former brilliance and had become abnormally dim. Danji struggled to prop herself up and looked at the plain-clothed figure who had fallen to the side. She hesitated for a moment before carrying him on her back and walking towards the dense forest ahead. The quiet and cold forest became frightening at night. The roars of beasts rang out in the depths of the forest, startling countless birds. Danji walked with difficulty. The aftereffects of the underworld pill gradually appeared. Her body and vitality quickly scattered, and even her 5 senses became blurry. Perhaps it was out of sympathy, or perhaps it was for other reasons. But Danji never left the man on her back. She knew that this person was useless to her, because she would never have another chance to refine pills in this life. After walking for more than an hour in the forest, Danji no longer had the strength to move forward. She stopped in front of a large tree and put down the man on her back. "I didn't expect that you would be the one to accompany me on the final journey." Danji looked at the young man in front of her, who had yet to wake up. Her beautiful face revealed a sigh. The cold night gradually turned cold. Danji lit a bonfire under the tree and silently stared blankly. She knew that there was almost no chance for her to escape safely, but she didn't regret it. She knew very well what kind of existence Butian Pavilion was. If she went in, she would be no different from a commodity. The quiet woman in front of the bonfire had unusually clean eyes. No one could tell that she was the Ingui sect's heavenly maiden, who was famous for seducing men. Only 2 of the 9 heavenly maidens were still virgins. The other 7 heavenly maidens cultivated the Ingui sect's secret method of gathering yang to replenish yin. Who knew how many men had died under their skirts? Danji didn't cultivate this method not because she was kind, but because she didn't like it. On the contrary, Ingui Danji was the one who killed the most people among the 9 heavenly maidens. Because every time she tested pills, countless people would die. In this world where the strong preyed on the weak, no one thought there was a problem. Danji looked at the unconscious man beside her, a complicated look flashing through her eyes. She didn't know who this person was, nor did she know where he came from. It was ironic that such a complete stranger would accompany her in her final moments. After a long period of silence, Danji raised her hand and touched the former's meridians. The remaining true chi flowed through his body, carefully examining his physical condition. She had killed too many people in her life. She hoped that she could save this person before she died. After an unknown period of time, Danji carefully examined every inch of the former's meridians and frowned deeply. There were no injuries on his body, and his condition was no different from that of an ordinary person. Why couldn't he wake up? True chi filled Danji's Dantian chi si. Danji continuously urged her body to continue her exploration. Half an hour later, Danji let go of her hand in exhaustion. She still didn't find anything. You're really unlucky. I can't save you. Danji sighed. The bonfire flickered continuously. In the pitch-black forest, the stars in the sky could not be seen. Only bits of moonlight shone through the gaps between the leaves. It was so cold. Cough cough. Suddenly, the underworld pill's backlash erupted. Danji coughed violently, and ink-black blood seeped out from between her fingers, dripping to the ground drop by drop. Danji took out a medicinal pill and stuffed it into her mouth. Then, she closed her eyes and focused on suppressing the surging blood energy in her body. After a long time, Danji opened her eyes and looked at the pills in front of her. Her gaze once more shifted to the plain-clothed youth. Without any hesitation, Danji took out bottle after bottle of pills and stuffed them into his mouth one by one. Since his constitution could devour all energy, she would give him all of these pills that could heal injuries or replenish true chi. In any case, there was no other way. Not long after, there was a pile of jade bottles on the ground. The elixirs in them were all eaten by Undying Monk. Danji looked at Undying Monk's bulging mouth. She didn't know why, but she suddenly smiled. If he woke up and found out that she had fed him so many random pills, she wondered what kind of expression he would have. She turned her palm and condensed her true chi. Droplets of dew condensed into water that flowed into his mouth. Danji carefully used her true chi to dissolve the pill's power. Then, she waited expectantly for the results. About an hour later, the medicinal energy was completely absorbed. Danji checked the former's meridians again, and couldn't help but sigh. She really had no other way. This person's body was simply a bottomless pit. So many medicinal pills had disappeared without even the slightest reaction. After tossing and turning for several hours, an irresistible sense of exhaustion hit Danji. She closed her eyes weakly and leaned against a tree to sleep. Crackling sounds came from the burning bonfire. As the night deepened, the fire became smaller and smaller. Beside the bonfire, the plain-clothed figure slept quietly. There was still no change. For more than 10 years, there was no sign of waking up. The night gradually passed. The eastern horizon turned white. The cold night passed and the sun rose, illuminating the dense forest. Danji woke up. When she found herself leaning on the shoulder of the man beside her, she couldn't help but blush and move away. She got up and extinguished the bonfire. Danji carefully tied the man with the white silk again and carried him on her back. Then she continued to walk forward. Ingwe sect had her life tablet, so it wasn't too difficult to find her. She had to continue on her way. The further she went, the better. 1,000 miles away, Danji walked in front of a large city. She didn't stop and directly walked into the city. In the mortal world's imperial court, a bustling city. The streets were bustling with activity. Danji walked in front of the largest pharmacy in the city. She looked at the old man behind the counter and said, "Shopkeeper, take out your best medicinal herbs." The old man was startled. This was the first time he had seen someone buy herbs like this. "Don't just stand there. Go get them," urged Danji impatiently. "Oh, okay." The old man came back to his senses and hurriedly nodded. He walked to the back hall. Not long after, the old man returned with several jade boxes. After opening them, he kindly reminded her, "Miss, these herbs are all very valuable." Danji looked at the herbs and didn't say much. She asked how much. "A total of 7,000 taels," replied the old man. Danji nodded and handed over several banknotes. Then, she put away the herbs and turned to leave. The old man looked at the banknotes in his hand in amazement. Someone who bought herbs like this was really strange. In the next few hours, Danji visited all the pharmacies in the city. She spent half her life savings, buying 1,000-year-old blood ginseng, 1,000-year-old Ganoderma, and other random things. In the guest room of an inn in the city, Danji put down the man on her back. She waved her hand and threw the mountains of heavenly treasures to the side. Then, she began to feed them to the young man in front of her. She might as well give medicine to a dead horse. The money and immortal jades she had saved up over the years were useless anyway. She might as well exchange them for various heavenly treasures and feed them to him. It just so happened that his body could devour all medicinal power. She didn't have to worry about him dying. Chapter 797. Ingui Sacred Hall. Meiji, Jianji, and Qingji knelt in the hall with their heads lowered. Their bodies were tense, and they didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Failed. Ingui Saintis looked at the three and asked indifferently, "Saintis, please forgive us." Fourth sister took the Yellow Springs pill, and her cultivation greatly increased. The three of us couldn't stop her, so we had no choice but to come back and report to Saintis, Meiji said truthfully. Yellow Springs pill. Ingui Saintis's eyes narrowed, and she slowly said, "Very good. Meiji, you three bring old 6, old 8, and old 9. Take Danji's life medallion, and bring her back before she dies. Didn't she rather die than come back? I'm not going to go against her wishes." "Yes." The three heavenly concubines bowed and walked out of the hall. "Wait." Suddenly Ingui Saintis said coldly, "Bring back the man that Danji took away." "Yes." The three of them respectfully replied and walked out of the hall. Not long after the three of them left, the void in the hall began to churn, and from the ripples, an illusory figure appeared. His young face carried an unruly coldness as he said, "Ingui Zhen, where is the heavenly maiden that your Ingui sect promised to send to my heaven-mending pavilion? Shouldn't you let me see her?" Ingui Saintis smiled and said, "I'm truly sorry. That heavenly maiden betrayed Ingui sect not long ago. I've already sent people to kill her. Brother Qi, don't worry. I'll quickly arrange for a new heavenly maiden. I definitely won't disappoint Brother Qi." Escaped? In the void, the young illusory figure revealed a cold expression and said, "Is marrying into my heaven-mending pavilion an insult to her? I'd like to see what's so special about this heavenly maiden. Where is she now?" "Meiji, Jianji, and the others have already gone to take her life medallion. We'll know her whereabouts soon. Brother Qi, you only need to wait a few days. Meiji and the others will quickly bring her back," Ingui Saintis said calmly. "No need. Tell them to bring her life medallion to me. I'll personally go," Qi Feiyin said coldly. When Ingui Saintis heard this, a serious look flashed across the depths of her eyes, but she didn't show it. Instead, she smiled and said, "We're really grateful that Brother Qi is willing to lower himself to do it personally. I'll be waiting for Brother Qi's arrival at Ingui sect. Before this sovereign arrives, arrange for a new holy daughter. When this sovereign leaves, I will take her with me." As soon as he finished speaking, Qi Feiyin's figure gradually faded away. In the blink of an eye, he had disappeared. Ingwe Saintis bowed and answered softly. After Chi Fein left, Ingwe Saintis raised her head. A cold glint flashed in her eyes as she said, "Men call Meiji over." Yes. Outside the hall, the maid accepted the order and quickly left. Boom. Right at this moment, a green brilliance descended from the sky outside Ingwe sect. With a loud bang, it shattered the sect protecting grand formation. Amidst the brilliance, two silhouettes walked out and charged towards Ingwe sect. In the sacred palace, Ingwe Saintis's eyes narrowed. She walked out of the sacred palace and looked outside the sect. Coldness flashed across her face. Who had the guts to cause trouble in Ingwe sect? In front of the sect, all kinds of lights flashed as the ghastly puppet cult's 7 heavenly concubines came out. Looking at the two people in front of them, they were on guard. It seems we didn't find the wrong place. Seeing the 7 people, killing intent flashed in Qing Ning's eyes. The auras of these 7 people were almost exactly the same as that woman's. Ingwe sect was truly a loathsome sect. "Hand over my master, you bad women." Ener put her hands on her hips and angrily glared at the 7 of them. "Oh, which family's little girl is this? She's really pretty. Why don't you join our Ingwe sect? I guarantee you'll be able to enjoy endless happiness every day." Meiji covered her mouth and laughed. "Bah! I came here to destroy your filthy sect, so you won't have a place to harm others." Ener angrily said, "Truly a little girl who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth." As they spoke, a light pink figure walked over from the distance. Her black hair fluttered in the wind, and a powerful aura circulated, causing the surrounding heaven and earth to shake. "Saintis!" The 7 heavenly concubines all bowed respectfully. Peak corporeal realm. Seeing the woman walk over, Qing Ning's expression froze. The true leader had finally appeared. "Capture them," Ingwe Saintis said indifferently. "Yes." The 7 heavenly concubines accepted the order and rushed out, surrounding the 2 of them. "Ener, retreat behind me," Qing Ning softly said. "Oh." Ener obediently ran behind Qing Ning. Qing Ning's right hand clenched, and a divine spear filled with lotus aura appeared. A powerful Buddhist aura circulated around it, as if it had a life of its own. No one dared to underestimate it. The 7 Ingwe Saintises all moved, and their true chi surged as they attacked the 2 of them. 3 realms of crossing the world, Bodhisakya, 10,000 devil repentance. The divine spear swept out, and Qing Ning's Buddhist aura flourished. Clear Saint Force soared, and her corporeal realm cultivation combined with Buddhist's devil-slaying art surged out. The 7 heavenly concubines felt an irresistible Saint Force attack them, and their bodies were immediately suppressed and sent flying. Ugh! With a muffled groan, the 7 of them staggered and fell to the ground, vomiting blood. Buddhist people. Ingwe Saintis narrowed her eyes, and her figure flickered as she personally attacked. Qing Ning turned her palm to block the attack, and lotus aura coiled around her body. With a bang, she forcefully resisted the attack. "My Ingwe sect has never had anything to do with Buddhism. Are your actions today a declaration of war?" Ingwe Saintis coldly asked the person in front of her. "I'm here to bring back the white-haired youth you captured. It has nothing to do with anyone else." Qing Ning replied coldly, as she waved her spear to shake off the battle. "So you're the one who killed Huanji. Just in time to save me the trouble of sending people to find you," Ingwe Saintis said, and her slender hand turned into a deadly claw that grabbed the woman in front of her. The divine spear swept out, and Qing Ning did not retreat even half a step. Qing Ning held her spear and fought against a peak corporeal realm expert. After exchanging a few moves, the heavens fell, and the earth fell. 100 years later, the younger generation was no longer inferior to the older generation, and their cultivations were shocking. The peak corporeal realm expert was one step away from the true realm, and she could see the truth of heaven and earth. Ingwe Saintis's moves were boundless, shaking the heavens and the earth. On the other hand, Qing Ning had a divine spear forged from pure sky lotus breath in her hand. Her body was like a dragon that could break through cities. Lotus flower sacred art, merciful ark of salvation. They were in a stalemate. Qing Ning raised her body to its fullest, and performed the supreme technique of Buddhism. Suddenly, lotus flowers shone in all directions, and the light of Buddha shone on the world. Above the void, green lotuses grew on their own. As the flowers bloomed and fell, the holy power of Buddhism dispelled all evil, slaying evil and saving the world. Seeing this, Ingui Saintess's eyes narrowed. She used her Ingui secret technique, and a dim light shone brightly to block the Buddhist power. In an extreme collision, Buddhist holy power and Yin Qi devoured each other. With a loud tremor, the battle was split apart, and it was still difficult to determine who had the upper hand. Ingui Saintess suppressed her killing intent and said, "Miss, your strength is not ordinary. May I ask which sect you come from?" "West Jade Mountain," Qingming said calmly. Ingui Saintess frowned slightly. West Jade Mountain was a sect she had never heard of. Logically speaking, such an expert shouldn't be unknown. "The person you are looking for is not in my Ingui sect. Not long ago, he was taken away by a traitor. Please return," Ingui Saintess said indifferently. "You're lying," Einer shouted from behind. "Do I need to lie to you?" Ingui Saintess sneered and said, "Believe it or not, but I'm warning you. Ingui sect is not a place you can barge into. If you cause trouble again, don't blame me for being ruthless." Einer was about to speak, but was stopped by Qing Ning. She glanced at Ingui sect in front of her, and a trace of seriousness flashed through her eyes. "Einer, let's go." Qing Ning said softly and turned to leave. Einer was startled. She didn't understand, but she recovered and hurriedly followed. Seeing the two leave, Ingui Saintess's gaze shifted to the 7 heavenly concubines and said, "Go get Danji's life tablet. Heaven Mending Pavilion's people will arrive soon." When Meiji and the others heard this, they were all shocked. So fast. Outside Ingui sect, Qingming walked forward with Einer following behind. After walking for a while, Einer finally couldn't help but ask, "Big sister Qingning, why are we leaving?" Qingning stopped and looked at Ingui sect that was gradually fading away. She said softly, "That Ingui Saintess shouldn't be lying to us. Just now, I didn't feel your master's aura. Moreover, this Ingui sect is not simple. There is a very terrifying aura inside. If we force our way in, we will very likely suffer greatly." Einer softly replied, and a worried expression appeared on her face. "Then where are we going to find Master?" "Wait here," Qingming calmly said. "The target of those two from Ingui sect was clearly you, and your master was just taken away in passing. Logically speaking, with Ingui Saintess's status, she shouldn't have noticed your master. When I asked her just now, she immediately knew who I was talking about. Clearly, she also noticed that there was a problem with your master's constitution." "Big sister, you mean Ingui Saintess will send people to find Master?" Einer's eyes brightened. "Yes." Qingming nodded and said, "Ingui sect claims to have 9 holy maidens. 7 of them were dispatched just now, and 1 of them died earlier. If I'm not wrong, the traitor Ingui Saintess spoke of is that holy maiden who didn't appear, and it's very likely that she took your master away." "Big sister, you're really smart. Why didn't I think of that?" Einer enviously said. "All right, this little scheme of mine can't even compare to your master's. Let's find a place to hide first. When Ingui sect's people come out, we'll follow," said Qingming softly. At the same time, in an inn in Zhonghua ancient city, Danji fed all the medicinal pills and heavenly treasures she had bought into knowing destiny's mouth. Jade bottles and wooden boxes were piled up everywhere, making one speechless. Cough cough. The backlash from the underworld pill was becoming more and more serious. Black blood continuously flowed out of Danji's mouth, gradually eating away at the little remaining true essence and vitality in her body. "If you still don't wake up, I really have no other choice. I've already done my best." Danji suppressed the injuries in her body and looked at the man in front of her with tired eyes. She had never heard of such a situation. Without any cultivation, his body could devour all energy. It was truly unheard of. Cough cough. After a few more violent coughs, Danji felt the true essence in her body continuously dissipating. She sighed softly and leaned over. Since it would dissipate sooner or later, she might as well give it to this person as repayment for accompanying her on her final journey. Chapter 798. In the ancient city, under the morning sun, the door of a guest room opened, and a beautiful figure walked out. She had a plain face and no makeup, but she looked even more attractive. Danji looked at the guests coming and going on the first floor. After a while, she turned around and walked into the room. It was time to go, otherwise the Ingui sect people would catch up. In the room, Danji tied the man on the bed to her back with white silk and walked out. Not long after the two left, several figures appeared out of thin air from the inn's room. Meiji walked forward and picked up a jade bottle. She looked at it and said, "This belongs to Danji. She shouldn't have gone far." "Chase," Chi Fein said coldly. As soon as he said that, the void swirled, and the figures disappeared. Outside the city, Danji walked quickly to the east. Although she had lost her cultivation, her body that had been cultivated for 100 years was still very fast. She quickly walked away. Behind her, streams of light flashed and disappeared, making it difficult to recognize. Danji sensed something and turned around to look. Her expression shook, and she sped up a bit. 100 miles outside the city, in a dense forest, Danji stopped and put down the man on her back. She carefully hid him and looked at him with reluctance, then continued to run forward. Outside the forest, less than 50 miles away, the void swirled and several figures appeared and chased after her. "Fourth sister, you have nowhere to go," Qinji said coldly. On the other side, Meiji, Jinji, Hunji, and other Ingui heavenly concubines walked out and blocked her way. "Ingui Danji." Chi Fein walked forward and looked at the woman in front of him. He said coldly, "I thought you were a chaste woman, but it turns out you're just a wanton slut." There was no fear on Danji's face as she looked at the people surrounding her. The corners of her mouth curled into a smile of relief. She raised her right hand and slapped towards her own head. "Stop her." Chi Fein's expression changed and he said coldly. Jinji heard him and moved. She unsheathed her cold sword and rushed towards the woman in front. At this moment the world changed. Boundless sword pressure filled the air, and the void froze. 10,000 swords bowed down. Everyone looked back, only to see that in the dense forest in the distance, sword light filled the sky and rushed into the forest. It was like a torrential downpour, moving horizontally and vertically, magnificent and shocking everyone. "This is Sword Chi." Chi Fein, Meiji, and the others were shocked, their faces filled with disbelief. In the next moment, the sword light that filled the sky shot over at an extremely fast speed. The shocking power split the heavens and the earth, and the space collapsed completely. Chi Fein's face sank. He took a step forward and rose into the air. His body's power was pushed to the limit. Suddenly, a violent wind swept out, turning into a black storm, blocking the sword flow. The sword light and the storm collided endlessly. As the sword light dissipated, the black storm rapidly weakened. Suddenly, a sword light broke through the storm and pierced through his body, bringing with it a large amount of blood. Next, thousands of sword lights pierced through Chi Fein's body. The sword lights pierced through, and blood fell like rain, shocking everyone present. Impossible. This unbelievable scene became the last thing Chi Fein saw in the human world. An instant later, his figure fell from the sky and crashed onto the ground. Young Master Chi, Meiji, Qinji, and Hunji stepped forward and looked at the dead body on the ground. They couldn't help but tremble. In just one move, a peak corporeal realm expert had died just like that. Just who was the attacker? "Senior, we didn't mean to offend you. Please let us go this time." Meiji bowed in the direction of the forest and said fearfully, "Scram." After a long time, a cold voice rang out from the distance. "Yes." Meiji hurriedly responded and gave the three girls a look. Then, she picked up Chi Fein and hastily left. After the four left, Danji stood there in a daze. Her expression was one of confusion. She didn't know what had happened. Not long after, two girls walked out. The one in the lead wore a blue dress. Her face was gentle and beautiful, and she gave off a peaceful feeling like a spring breeze. Danji came back to her senses and looked at the two of them. She hastily bowed and said, Thank you for saving me, senior. We're not seniors. Ina curled her lips when she heard this. Qingming walked forward and looked in the direction of the forest. The ones who saved you weren't us. Danji was startled. Then who was the one who spoke just now? I was the one who spoke, but I wasn't the one who attacked. Qingming explained, then turned and walked towards the forest behind her. Come with us. I don't really understand right now. Danji followed in confusion. She still didn't understand what was going on. In the forest, the area covered by trees was now empty. On the ground, a white-haired figure in plain clothes was quietly lying there with his eyes closed. He didn't look any different from before. When the three of them walked over, Ina saw the figure on the ground and immediately ran over with tears in her eyes. Master! Master! Danji said with a shocked look on her face. Qingming nodded. He's Ina's master. A few days ago, he was taken away by a heavenly concubine from your Ingui sect. We only found some clues after investigating for a long time. Only then did Danji understand. She sighed. So you were the ones who killed Huanji? Yes. Qingming softly replied. I heard Ingui Saintus say that you betrayed Ingui's sect and brought him out. We followed those people and found this place. Then who saved me? Danji didn't understand. Him, Qingming said. Danji's expression shook. She said in disbelief. That's impossible. He was unconscious the entire time. How could he have attacked? I also don't know why, but the sword move just now is indeed something only he can use. Qingming said seriously. Sister Qingming, come quickly. There's a bug in Master's stomach. Ina shouted in panic. Qingming heard this and quickly stepped forward. She reached out and checked Ningchen's meridians. What did you feed my master? Ina pointed at the woman in front of her and said angrily. It wasn't me. I didn't feed your master any bugs. Danji quickly shook her head. She didn't do it. Qingming retracted her hand and put down the former's arm. This is a goo. It should be Ruashi. Sister Ruashi. Ina blinked and said in surprise. Your master mentioned this to me before. However, we didn't care at that time because Ruashi would never harm your master. Since Ruashi didn't mention it, your master didn't ask. Qingming explained. When I checked him yesterday, there wasn't any goo in his body. Danji was puzzled. Then I'll have to ask you. What have you done to him these past few days? Qingming said seriously. In the past 10 years, this was the first time Ningchen showed any other reaction. This was a good thing. Maybe this was the hope for him to wake up. Danji hesitated for a moment. Then, she roughly explained what had happened in the past 2 days, including the herbs she bought for him to eat. Ah, you gave my master so much food to eat. Ina's heart jumped when she heard that. I saw that he could absorb any kind of medicinal power, so I bought some heavenly treasures for him to eat. Danji said awkwardly. Qingming heard this and frowned. Is there anything else? Is that all? It shouldn't be the problem with these herbs. These days, she had found a lot of spirit herbs for him, but today's situation had never happened. Hearing the former's question, Danji's face turned red. She stammered and didn't say anything for a long time. Qingming saw this and grabbed the former's arm. She probed with her true qi and frowned again. Where's your true qi? Qingming asked. The 9 heavenly concubines of Ingui's sect were at least experts above the virtual realm. This Danji was no exception. I gave it to him. Danji explained with a red face. I took the Yellow Springs pill. My cultivation will quickly disperse. I brought him out. I want to save him. Qingming looked at the woman in front of her and said, Can you tell me why you betrayed Ingui's sect? Danji's eyes darkened. Ingui's sect wanted me to marry Butian Pavilion. I didn't want to, so I ran away. Qingming didn't ask any more questions. She understood what happened. Sister Qingming, what are you talking about? What happened to Master? Ina asked with a confused face. Your master is fine. We'll leave first in case more experts from Ingui's sect come back. Qingming said. Oh. Ina answered obediently. She helped her master up and prepared to leave. Qingming glanced at the woman beside her and said, You're coming with us. Danji was shocked. Then, joy appeared on her face and she nodded vigorously. When night fell, 3 people came to the small courtyard in front of the Jade Moon Pool. Einar put her master in a wheelchair and pushed him into the room. Danji followed them into the room cautiously. She didn't dare to speak casually. "Come here. I'll take a look at your injuries," Qingming said. Danji stepped forward and said sadly, "I took the Yellow Springs pill. My body won't recover. However, I'm satisfied to be able to break free from Ingui Sek's control." Qingming stretched out her hand to check Danji's pulse. Her eyes narrowed. It was indeed not good. This Yellow Springs pill was really overbearing. "Rest for a while. I'll prepare medicine for you." After a while, Qingming withdrew her hand and said, "Okay." Danji nodded and said. Qingming left the room and went outside to prepare the medicine. Einar saw this and immediately followed. "Sister Qingming, what's going on? I still don't understand." Einar followed and asked, "What do you want to know? Why did the goo in your master's body appear out of thin air? Or how did your master save her?" Qingming asked softly. "Both." Einar said expectantly. "Why did the goo in your master's body appear out of thin air?" "It's because that lady gave her virginity and all her martial arts to your master. If I'm not wrong, the goo in your master's body is the goo of love. Previously, it was severely injured like your master during the Heaven's tribulation. It hid in his body and only woke up after absorbing so many treasures, and that lady's primordial yin." Qingming sighed softly and said, "As for why your master could save her, it might be because of this goo. That lady was in danger, and your master sensed it. That's why he acted unconsciously and saved her." "Pervert." Einar heard this and was furious. Previously, when she was bullied by those bad people, he didn't help her. Chapter 799. The moonlight was cold. Danji stood silently in front of the Jade Moon Pool, looking at the cold moon in the sky with a calm expression, her eyes as clear as autumn water. The 9 heavenly concubines of Ingui were all peerless beauties, and Danji was not an exception. Now that she had put aside her conflicts and schemes, her presence was more peaceful. With a creak, the door opened, and Qingming walked out. Looking at the woman in front of her, she walked forward. "You just lost your cultivation, and the poison in your body is harder to suppress. You need to rest more," Qingming reminded softly. Danji refocused, smiled slightly and said, "No matter, I know my body best. There is no cure for the poison of the Yellow Spring pill. Let me live the rest of my days as I please." Qingming sighed and said, "I have not asked for your name. Danji should not be your real name." Danji smiled and said, "Morong. Compound surname?" Qingming said in surprise. "No." Danji shook her head and said, "My name is Morong." Qingming nodded slightly and said, "Morong, you mentioned Heaven Mending Pavilion before. Can you elaborate?" Hearing this, Danji's body slightly trembled. She gradually relaxed and said, "I don't know much about the Heaven Mending Pavilion. I only know that it is an extremely ancient sect with countless experts. For hundreds and thousands of years, very few disciples have appeared. However, as long as a descendant of the Heaven Mending Pavilion walks the world, they must be extremely talented. Their strength is extremely terrifying." "What is the relationship between Ingui sect and Heaven Mending Pavilion? Why did they send you for marriage?" Qingming continued to ask. "Ingui sect is a sect that depends on Heaven Mending Pavilion to exist. They have always maintained their relationship through marriage. As to the reason," a hint of self-mockery flashed across Morong's face. She said, "Maybe Ingui Danji is one of the few celestial females in the sect who still has a virgin body. Ingui sect's method is special. They can take yang to nourish yin, and can also become a cauldron for others. Even Heaven Mending Pavilion would not complain about getting something for free, right?" Qingming sighed softly. This was a world where the strong preyed on the weak. Women were like duckweed in the rain, not knowing where they would be in the next moment. There were too few women like Beiming Fan Lingyue and the Chongling female supreme, who could control their own fates. "What is the identity of that young master? Can Miss Qing tell us?" Morong Qing's gaze shifted to the girl beside her, as she asked with anticipation. "He's called Ning Chun," Qingming softly said. "You should have heard of him. He's Emogate's ninth son Ningchen. When Morong heard this, her delicate body trembled. Emogate's ninth son, the legend whose name shook the starry sky, or rather the taboo. After a long while, Morong returned to her senses. She looked at the woman before her and asked, "Who injured him to this extent?" According to legend, the strength of Emo Sect's ninth disciple was something that even the exalted experts of the various stellar regions were extremely fearful of. Could anyone in the world possibly injure him to such an extent? Heavens! Qingning looked up at the starry sky and said calmly, "He saved a dead person." The heavens didn't allow it, so both sides suffered. Morong Qing's heart was in turmoil when she heard this. How was it possible to bring the dead back to life? Qingning looked up at the sky and sighed softly. "You're not the only one who thinks it's impossible. Even he himself doesn't believe it. However, there are too many things in this world that we don't understand. In the end, there are far more things that we don't know than we do. Whether you believe it or not, he still did it. For this, he paid a sufficient price." "Is she his wife?" asked Morong Qing. "No." Qingning shook her head. "Does young Master Ning like her?" asked Morong Qing doubtfully. Qingning shook her head again. "I don't know. Does she like young Master Ning?" asked Morong Qing doubtfully. "Perhaps." Qingning sighed. Morong Qing frowned slightly. "Then where is she now?" "She left after waking up. I don't know where she went. Perhaps when Ningchen wakes up she'll return. Perhaps she'll never return," replied Qingning. Morong Qing fell silent. After a while she asked, "What's her name?" "Ghost Maiden." Qingning retracted her gaze and replied, "Rakshasa's lady of the underworld. A woman who returned to hell for him." Morong Qing turned around to look at the wooden house behind her. Her beautiful eyes flashed. This young Master Ning was truly a strange person. That ghost maiden actually liked him. "Go back and rest. We still have to hurry on with our journey tomorrow morning." "N." Morong Qing nodded. She glanced at the continuously flowing waterfall in front of her, and turned to walk back into the house. Qingning paused for a moment, before also turning to return to the house. If what Morong Qing said was true, and Yingui sect had her life tablet, then it was very likely that true experts would appear soon. At that time, it would really be troublesome. At the very least, before Ningchen woke up, they still couldn't directly confront these monsters who had lived for countless years. In the wooden house, Qingning walked to the bed and covered Yin'er with a blanket. A gentle expression flashed across her face. This child had suffered a lot over the years. It was just that she was a bit too playful. She didn't know when the heavenly speech origin in her body would awaken. Ningchen had said that although this girl's talent was good, she wasn't suitable to learn the sword. Becoming a heavenly speaker was her best choice. Sensing someone beside her, Yin'er turned over in a daze and reached out to hug the arm of the person in front of her, before continuing to sleep. Qingning helplessly sat by the bed and gently patted the girl in front of her to let her sleep more soundly. Not long after, Qingning carefully pulled her arm away and walked to the bed not far away. Looking at the white-haired figure sleeping on the bed, a trace of sadness appeared on her face. "Ningchen, wake up quickly. It's already been 10 years. Haven't you rested well?" Qingning sat by the side and raised her hand to gently caress the former's face. Tears silently flowed down from her eyes drop by drop. In the room next door, Morong Qing looked ahead in silence. This girl wasn't his wife, nor was she related to him by blood. However, she still didn't leave him, and stayed by his side for 10 years. This kind of love could no longer be described with words. Perhaps he was the only one left in her life. Morong Qing retracted her gaze and walked to her bed to lie down. In the past, she thought that there was nothing in this world other than love and affection. Today, she realized that she was ridiculously wrong. So there was such love in this world. It surpassed everything. She only had him. Outside the room, the cold night gradually passed. When the sun rose, Qingning, who had been sitting for the whole night, got up and made preparations before leaving. "Yin'er, wake up." After preparing for a long time, Qingning saw that it was already late. She walked to the bed and called out softly. On the bed, Yin'er got up with a dazed expression and sat in a daze unhappily for a long time. Then, She walked out of the room with her eyes half closed and began to wash up. In the room next door, Morongqing walked out and saw this scene. A strange expression flashed across her face. Qingning smiled apologetically and said, "I'm sorry. This girl has been spoiled by her master, so she's a little spoiled. Miss, please don't take offense." Morongqing smiled and shook her head. The path of cultivation has always been difficult. If she can always maintain the heart of a child, it's a good thing. Outside the room, Einar finished washing up and sat in front of the mirror. After searching for a long time, she turned around and said, "Sister Qingning, I can't find my hairpin. I've put it away for you. Don't leave things around. If you lose them, your master will scold you when he wakes up." Qingning went forward and carefully combed Einar's hair. Then, she took out a golden hairpin and inserted it into her hair. Einar looked at herself in the mirror and smiled happily. "Master dotes on me so much. He won't scold me. You know your master dotes on you, but you still lost him." Qingning lightly hit her. Einar embarrassedly grabbed the girl's arm and said, "I didn't do it on purpose. Sister Qingning, don't tell master about this when he wakes up." On the side, Morongqing looked at the two of them with envy. The two of them had a really good relationship. "Go push your master. We have to leave as soon as possible. It won't be safe here soon." Qingning patted Einar's head. "Oh." Einar immediately got up and ran to the bed to help the figure on the bed. She placed him in the wheelchair and carefully covered him with a thick blanket. "Morong, let's go." Qingning looked at the girl beside her. "Hun." Morongqing nodded and followed her. At the same time, in Gui Sek's sacred palace, In Gui Saintis knelt on the ground. In the darkness in front of her, a powerful and heavy aura filled the air. It was so oppressive that it made it hard for her to breathe. "A swordsman?" The cold voice of a woman rang out. "Hun." In Gui Saintis replied. According to Meiji and the others, they didn't even see his appearance when he attacked. In just one move, Qi Feiyin died. "True realm?" The girl's voice sank. "Does Heaven Mending Pavilion know about this?" Heaven Mending Pavilion has already sent people to take away Qi Feiyin's corpse. They should be making a move soon. In Gui Saintis respectfully replied. In the darkness, the girl was silent. After a moment, she said, "Understood. You can leave. You don't need to care about this anymore. I will personally handle it." In Gui Saintis' expression shook. "Master, you want to come out of seclusion? Qi Feiyin's death is not a small matter. I can no longer sit by and do nothing. Heaven Mending Pavilion will at least send a Grand Elder to deal with this matter. Before that, my In Gui sect should express something." In Gui Saintis bowed. Without saying anything else, she got up and left. Sword user. In the darkness, the girl's face revealed a cold expression. When did this planet have such a powerful sword user? It seemed that she had been in seclusion for too long. An expert she didn't know about had appeared in this world. Within In Gui sect, it wasn't long before the halls started to shake one after another. Amidst the decadent aura that filled the sky, an extremely powerful pressure swiftly recovered, causing all the birds and beasts within 500 kilometers to be terrified, bowing their heads and shivering. "Greetings, Sect Master." "Greetings, Sect Master." Within the halls, the 7 heavenly concubines all knelt and saluted, welcoming In Gui Sect Master out of seclusion. As soon as she finished speaking, the power of extreme In soared into the sky from behind the In Gui Sacred Palace. A beautiful figure that could turn all living things upside down walked out. She was as charming as the night, making the fairies not dare to look directly at her. The master of the In Gui Sacred Palace was a supreme master whose name shook the world. Chapter 800. Light streaked across the starry sky, as the Milky Way flew towards the distant starry sky. Qingning and the others traveled day and night for several days without stopping as they rushed towards another star field. Not long after the 4 of them left, red mist gathered in the starry sky, and a charming woman looked in the direction that the 4 of them had left. She took a step forward and disappeared. At the end of the red phoenix star field, a huge star field appeared in front of them. It was so vast that they couldn't see the end of it. "Spirit Void, we're finally here." Qing Ning and the others stopped and stared at the distant star domain. We're finally here. Unfortunately, you can't go over. Before they finished speaking, space-time swirled in the starry sky, and a beautiful figure wrapped in red mist walked out. Her aura was oppressive and heavy, making it hard for people to breathe. Sect Master. Seeing the person, Morong trembled and said in shock. Danji. The Inweed Sect Master looked at the woman and said indifferently, I really didn't expect that you would dare to betray the Inweed Sect. Take your master and Morong away. Qing Ning stepped in front of him and said with a serious expression. Sister Qing Ning. Looked anxious and refused to leave. Go. Qing Ning said angrily. You won't be able to help even if you stay here. Do you want something to happen to your master? Er's body shook when she heard this, but she quickly suppressed her emotions and took the other two to leave. The Inweed Sect Master looked at the three leaving and didn't chase after them. He said indifferently, How much time do you think you can buy for them? As long as I can. Qing Ning replied coldly and clenched her hands. In an instant, a lotus bloomed in the void and a green divine spear appeared. When the palm and divine spear collided, lightning shook the heavens and wind howled. The terrifying power shook the heavens and the earth, causing the stars to tremble. The corporeal realm and true realm were two completely different realms with clear boundaries. In just one move, blood flowed out from Qing Ning's right arm and dyed the green spear red. 3 realms of transcendence. True yuan surged and blood turned into lotuses. Blood lotuses bloomed in the void as the Buddhist secret technique was revealed. Suddenly, Buddhist thunder shook the heavens and earth, and evil fell everywhere. Life separation illusion reality. With a deep roar, the blood lotuses around Qing Ning shattered. Boundless blood essence gathered, and the heavens and the earth turned solemn. Great worlds collapsed one after another, seeming illusory yet real. The Buddhists are not worshipping your Buddha properly. Instead, they came here to meddle in the affairs of my sect. How foolish. Ingui Sect Master's expression turned cold. He flipped his palm, and in an instant, a huge vortex appeared in the boundless void. It spun crazily, and a terrifying suction force spread out, causing the starry sky to lose its color. In the next moment, the two moves collided. Horrifying waves swept outwards. A beautiful green figure flew out, her clothes dyed red. The corporeal realm will never be equal to the true realm. Now it's time to end it. In the aftermath, Ingui Sect Master walked out with surging Inqi around him. He raised his hand to grab the woman in front of him. Sister Qing Ning. At this moment, Ina rushed over from afar. Without any hesitation, she pulled out the golden hairpin on her head and swung it across the sky. Then, she carried the heavily injured Qing Ning and swiftly left. Above the starry sky, the heavens shook and the earth trembled. A terrifying force that had never been seen before appeared, splitting the starry sky with a bang. The Milky Way was brilliant, spanning thousands of miles. Ingui Sect Master couldn't dodge in time, and was affected by the power of the golden hairpin. He groaned and flew hundreds of meters away. Western King Hairpin. Looking at the constantly shaking Milky Way, Ingui Sect Master was shocked. How could the protective immortal artifact of the Queen Mother of the West be in the hands of a little girl? Outside the Red Phoenix star field, Ina appeared on a primitive star with Qing Ning. Her expression was full of anxiety. Sister Qing Ning, how are you? I'm fine. Qing Ning suppressed the injuries in her body and said, Let's go quickly. Your cultivation is still shallow. That Milky Way won't be able to stop her for long. But your injuries? Ina looked at the blood flowing out of Qing Ning's right arm and said worriedly, I can still hold on. We have to quickly find your sister Ruashi. She's the only one who understands the goo she planted in Master. Qing Ning said tiredly. Ina nodded and glanced at Morong. Sister Morong, let's go quickly. Morong Qing nodded and pushed the man in the wheelchair aside to continue on their way. At the same time, in the Red Phoenix Star Field's Golden Dawn City, the Dawn Moon House's master looked at the half of the undying immortality peach tree in her hand and narrowed her eyes. Knock knock. After 3 knocks, Hong Wan pushed the door open and entered. Looking at the figure in the room, she respectfully said, House Master, This is this month's account. Please take a look. The Dawn Moon House's master took the account book and glanced at it. Why are you the one who brought it? Where's the shopkeeper? A smile appeared on Hong Wan's face. Because we suffered a loss again. The shopkeeper didn't dare to come. So I brought it for him. Separately list out the accounts that Lin Yuzhen owes. When I have time, I'll personally send it to her, the Dawn Moon House's master said. Hong Wan nodded and hesitated for a moment before asking, Housemaster, why did Princess Qi come here? Isn't she from the Spirit Void sect? If I say that she's only here as a guest, would you believe me? The Dawn Moon House's master chuckled. No. Hong Wan shook her head. Ha. The Dawn Moon House's master stood up and smiled. That's what Lin Yuzhen said back then. Of course I don't believe her. As for the reason, it's not hard to guess. She came to the Hongwan Star region because there's someone she values. Coincidentally, I also value this person. Hearing this, Hongwan was startled. A moment later she said, Housemaster, you're saying that she came for Sir Ning. She didn't deny it or admit it. However, I think so. A woman's heart is like a needle at the bottom of the ocean. This Princess Qi is an incredible figure. She's able to contend against the Ji family, which possesses the bloodline of gods by herself. In the past thousands of years, no one has been able to do so. The Dawn Moon House's master smiled. If House Master were to face this person, what are your chances of winning? Hong Wan curiously asked. It's hard to say. The Dawn Moon House's master said. Lin Yuzhen's cultivation seems to be at the mid-stage of the true realm. However, once she pulls out the Phoenix Cry sword, no one knows how terrifying this woman is. Of course, as long as she hasn't entered the 4th level, I'm not afraid of her. A strange glint flashed through Hong Wan's eyes. Does the 4th level really exist? Why haven't any 4th level experts appeared in the Hong Wan Star region? They should exist. The Dawn Moon House's master walked towards the window, looking at the bustling crowd outside. She calmly said, Ever since the collapse of the 4 great immortal domains, the number of people able to step into the 4th level has decreased. In the past 10,000 years, there hasn't even been any news of it. However, just because there hasn't been any news of it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. The inheritances that have been hidden for a long time all had 4th level experts overseeing them countless years ago. It's not strange for someone to live until now. House Master, you're saying that those old monsters at the 4th level can live for 10,000 years? Hong Wan asked in shock. 10,000 years is too long. The Dawn Moon House's master shook her head. No one can live for 10,000 years. However, it's not impossible to rely on external forces. Since you said that they're old monsters, then they can't be judged by human standards. Hong Wan was silent. After a long time she softly asked, Housemaster, how far are you from the 4th level? It's close at hand. The Dawn Moon House's master softly said. It's also far away. However, I seem to have found some clues recently, and am preparing to leave to take a look. Housemaster, you're leaving? Where are you going? Hong Wan was confused. The All-Heaven Star region, Shumi Buddhist Kingdom, the Dawn Moon House's master slowly said. The Spirit Void Star region, the White Emperor Star. It was known as the King Star of a region. Majestic palaces stood tall on it, and the entire world was in court. The White Emperor Star's #1 inheritance, the Divine Blood Ji family. It was a terrifying inheritance whose name shook the starry sky. Everyone knew about it. Not far from the Ji family, there was a royal city in the human world. It didn't look much different from other cities. However, everyone on the White Emperor Star knew that this city was the most terrifying city in the world. Fengming City was the territory that the former White Emperor of the human world had conferred to King Lin Yuzhen. From then on, as long as the royal city didn't fall, the empire wouldn't be destroyed. Thousands of miles away from Fengming City, in the Beiki Empire's imperial palace, the current White Emperor sat on the dragon throne, waiting for someone to arrive. Not long after, outside the main hall, a handsome figure with his hair tied up high walked in. His expression was delicate and calm, and he was indescribably noble. When King Qi appeared, all the guards in the palace knelt down and respectfully saluted. Greetings, King Qi. Lin Yuzhen nodded and walked up the stone steps, heading towards the main hall. Your subject, Lin Yuzhen, greets your majesty. Lin Yuzhen walked into the main hall, bowed and said calmly, May I know why your majesty has summoned me here? White Emperor walked down from the dragon throne, looked at the person in front of him, and said solemnly, King Qi, the high priest, is dead. Lin Yuzhen frowned slightly and said, The high priest still had more than 10 years to live. Why did he suddenly die? The bloodline aura of the Ji family remains on the altar. White Emperor said seriously. The Ji family? Lin Yuzhen narrowed her eyes and said, That's strange. I suspect that someone is deliberately provoking the conflict between Beiki and the Ji family. That's why I immediately summoned you here for a discussion, White Emperor said calmly. Lin Yuzhen thought for a while and said, Whether it's the Ji family or not, it seems that I have to make a trip there. White Emperor was puzzled and said, If we go against the Ji family just like that, wouldn't we fall into their trap if someone is deliberately provoking us? There's no need to go through so much trouble. Since the bloodline aura of the Ji family is on the altar, the Ji family must give us an explanation, Lin Yuzhen said calmly. White Emperor hesitated for a moment, but nodded in agreement after a while. Don't worry, your majesty. Leave this matter to me. After speaking, Lin Yuzhen did not stay any longer. She turned and walked out of the hall. On the west side of the imperial palace, Lin Yuzhen walked in front of the huge altar. Looking at the bloodstains on the altar, she laughed coldly. She turned her palm and condensed her essence. With a rumble, she grabbed the entire altar. In the blink of an eye, Lin Yuzhen and the altar disappeared without a trace. In the sky above the Ji family, the void shook. A handsome figure walked out, dragging a huge altar in his hand. Without any hesitation, he raised his hand and threw the altar down. In the next moment, with a loud bang, the altar smashed into the Ji family. Boundless waves of dust rose up to a height of 1,000 feet. Chapter 801. On the White Emperor planet, above the Ji family, Prince Qi came to denounce them. A huge altar smashed down, shaking the earth and mountains. He was dressed elegantly with a jade hairpin holding his hair in place. His handsome face was as calm as water. Although he was denouncing them, no one could see any anger on his face. Prince Qi Lin Yuzhen, the well-deserved king of Spirit Void, had charged into the Ji family alone, shocking the entire White Emperor city. It's Prince Qi. The citizens of White Emperor City were shocked when they saw the figure in the sky. The conflict between the Ji family and Prince Qi had long been a secret that everyone knew. A mountain could not contain two tigers, and a king would not meet another king. This was a fact that everyone understood. Who would have thought that Prince Qi would appear here today and directly confront the Ji family? The handsome figure walking down from the sky was not tall, but he was like a sharp sword that could reach the sky. No one dared to be careless. An old man walked out from the Ji family. He looked at the figure descending from the sky and said, Your Highness Prince Qi, you are a guest of the Ji family. There is no need to be so courteous. Lin Yuzhen sneered and said, Ji Changfeng, I don't have the time to keep you in suspense. I am here to seek justice for the high priest of my dynasty. Upon hearing this, the old man called Ji Changfeng frowned and asked, High priest of Beiki, what does Prince Qi mean? The day before yesterday, the high priest of my dynasty was assassinated. The blood of your Ji family was left on the altar. Ji Changfeng, tell me, shouldn't your Ji family give me an explanation? Lin Yuzhen said indifferently. Ji Changfeng's eyes narrowed and said, Your Highness Prince Qi, aren't you going too far by concluding that it was the Ji family's doing just based on a few drops of blood? Going too far? I don't have the guts. However, the place where the high priest was assassinated had the Ji family's blood. This is an indisputable fact. Today, I must seek justice, Lin Yuzhen said coldly as he closed the folding fan in his hand. The dignified Prince Qi can't distinguish between right and wrong. Do you really think the Ji family is easy to bully? As he spoke, another old figure walked out from the Ji family. His aura was so majestic that no one dared to approach him. The Ji family's Grand Elder Feng and Grand Elder Chang Kong have both moved out. Looks like this king can't hide anymore. As soon as she finished speaking, the folding fan in Lin Yuzhen's hand disappeared. Amidst the flowing light, a sword with red clouds revolving around it appeared. The sword hadn't been unsheathed yet, but its might had already spread in all directions. Phoenix Cry Sword. Looking at the sword in the former's hand, Ji Changkong and Ji Changfeng's expressions froze. The divine weapon of the Beiki Empire. Is Prince Qi serious about this? Elders, have you decided? Are you going to hand over the high priest's murderer, or do you want me to personally find him? Asked Lin Yuzhen. This matter wasn't done by my Ji clan. Moreover, the Ji clan isn't a place where you can barge into as you wish. Ji Changkong coldly said. Is that so? Then I'll be offending you. Before she finished speaking, Lin Yuzhen moved. In a flash of light, she flew towards the Ji clan's sacred hall behind them. Ji Changkong and Ji Changfeng's expressions sank. Their silhouettes flashed, blocking the front. Their palms converged and struck towards the former. Lin Yuzhen sneered. She held the sheathed Phoenix Cry sword horizontally, directly blocking their joint attack. However, an earth-shattering tremor was heard. In front of the Ji clan's sacred hall, countless formation runes were awakened. In the terrifying aftermath, thousands of formation runes collapsed. Immediately, new formation runes appeared, blocking the frightening airflow. Ji Changkong and Ji Changkong, the two grand elders of the Ji clan, were pushed back a few feet. The blood in their bodies surged. Even with their joint attack, they were still at a disadvantage. In front of them, Lin Yuzhen stood coldly without saying a word. Her silhouette moved again, arriving in front of the two in an instant. She struck out with a mighty palm. At this critical moment, a greenish-white silhouette flew out from the Ji clan's sacred hall and blocked the two of them. She also struck out a palm to meet Prince Qi's palm. With a loud bang, the ground between the two of them cracked. Even with the protection of the formation, it couldn't dissolve this frightening power. Ji Yuechu, are you finally willing to show yourself? Looking at the Ji clan's sacred master, Lin Yuzhen said calmly. Your Highness Prince Qi, why are you so unreasonable? You should know that this matter wasn't done by the Ji clan, Ji Yuechu said. I don't know whether it was done by the Ji clan or not. I only know that the Ji clan is definitely involved in the death of the high priest, Lin Yuzhen said calmly. A light flashed across Ji Yuechu's eyes. After a while he said, Your Highness is not unreasonable. Why don't we enter the sacred hall and discuss how to solve this matter? Sure. Hearing this, Lin Yuzhen nodded. With a wave of her hand, she kept the Phoenix Cry sword in her hand and walked toward the Ji clan's sacred hall. Sacred Master. Ji Changkong went up and said anxiously, The death of the high priest of Beiki has nothing to do with the Ji clan. Why are you giving in to this person? Who says it has nothing to do with us? Ji Yuechu said calmly. Didn't you see the bloodstains of the Ji clan on the altar that Prince Qi threw down? But, Ji Changkong said anxiously, There are no buts. Ji Yuechu raised his hand to stop the former from continuing and said, Regardless of whether it was done by the Ji clan or not, with the bloodstains, the Ji clan is definitely involved. Let's enter the sacred hall and entertain our guests. With that, Ji Yuechu did not say anything else and walked toward the sacred hall. What do you mean, Sacred Master? Ji Changkong was puzzled. I'm not sure either. Ji Changfeng shook his head and said, However, since someone dared to frame the Ji clan cannot sit by and do nothing. Let's go in first. That Prince Qi is not an unreasonable person. Otherwise, even if the Sacred Master intervened just now, it would be difficult for us to keep our lives. Hearing this, Ji Changkong glanced at the handsome figure in front of him with a fearful expression. This Prince Qi was truly more frightening than he had imagined. If he hadn't personally experienced it, he really wouldn't have believed that a person who hadn't cultivated for as long as they did would actually possess such terrifying strength. The Ji clan's sacred hall was a majestic building. The decorations in the hall were classical and exquisite, neither flashy nor shabby. Yuqing, serve the guests tea. Ji Yuechu looked at his daughter and said, Yes. Ji Yuqing responded softly, and took the tea from the maid. She then personally served it to Prince Qi and bowed, saying, Your Highness, please have some tea. Lin Yuzhen took the tea and looked at the unusually beautiful girl in front of him. He smiled and said, "After not seeing you for 100 years, the growth of the Ji clan's daughter has really made me look at you in a new light. Your Highness is too kind. Yuqing does not deserve such praise." Ji Yuqing bowed again and retreated to the side. "Prince Qi, I am deeply sorry about the matter of your high priest. However, this matter was indeed not done by the Ji clan. I hope that your Highness will investigate this matter," Ji Yuechu said seriously. "How do you explain the bloodstains on the altar, Sacred Master?" Lin Yuzhen took a sip of tea and asked. "Someone framed us," Ji Yuechu said with certainty. "Framing the Ji clan? I really can't think of anyone who would have the guts to do so," Lin Yuzhen said calmly. "There are countless experts in the White Emperor Star, or even in the entire Spirit Void Star. There are also many forces that are dissatisfied with the Ji clan and the Baiki Empire. It is not strange for someone to deliberately sow discord," Ji Yuechu said seriously. "What do you plan to do, Sacred Master?" Lin Yuzhen asked calmly. "Beat them at their own game and lure them out." Ji Yuechu tapped the table beside him with his finger, and an invisible barrier sealed the space between the two of them. "Why should I believe you, Sacred Master?" Lin Yuzhen put down the teacup in his hand and asked. Ji Yuechu narrowed his eyes and said, "Because of my name, Ji Yuechu." Lin Yuzhen smiled and said, "If that is the case, I will not be courteous." As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Yuzhen stood up and his terrifying cultivation erupted. Amidst the raging wind, the cry of a phoenix appeared. In an instant, lightning fell from the sky. His sword pierced the ground, and the brilliance pierced through the 9 heavens. At this moment, the entire White Emperor city was shaken. Countless people looked at the Ji clan's holy palace in shock. Did Prince Qi and the Ji clan really start fighting? In the Ji clan's holy palace, Lin Yuzhen's figure flashed in the dazzling brilliance. His sword was like lightning as it swept towards the Ji clan's sacred master. Ji Yuechu focused and used his vital energy to block the Phoenix Cry sword. With a loud rumble, the aftershock roared to the sky. Neither of them retreated half a step. The sword in their hands pressed forward, not showing any mercy. This shocking battle shook everyone's hearts. Ji Yuqing and the 2 grand elders retreated from the holy palace. No one dared to take half a step forward. Not far away, Ruashi walked over and looked at the holy palace. "Yuqing, what's wrong?" Ji Yuqing shook her head and said, "I'm not sure. Prince Qi and father were having a good discussion. I don't know why they suddenly started fighting." "Prince Qi, Lin Yuzhen?" Ruashi looked at the holy palace with a strange light in her eyes. This Prince Qi was really bold. He dared to fight in the Ji clan alone. Ugh! Suddenly, a muffled groan sounded in the holy palace. Ji Yuechu's figure crashed into a stone pillar, and he vomited vermilion blood. In the next moment, Lin Yuzhen walked out. His vital energy was surging, and his strength was shocking. The Phoenix Cry sword that had returned to its scabbard was still emitting phoenix cries. A terrifying pressure overflowed, and the surrounding space was constantly shattered. "Father!" Seeing the former walking out, Ji Yuqing's expression changed. She hurriedly rushed into the holy palace. When she saw the injured figure under the stone pillar, her pupils shrank. Ji Chongfeng and Ji Chongkong exchanged a glance. They also saw the shock in each other's eyes. Their holy lord was actually defeated. This was something they never thought would happen. "Ji Yuechu, this is just a warning. If you don't hand over the murderer of our high priest in 10 days, don't blame this prince for being ruthless." Outside the holy palace, Lin Yuzhen coldly warned and immediately walked out of the Ji clan. The moment they passed, Ruashi's body stiffened. She was intimidated by the former's powerful aura and couldn't move. Sensing the familiar aura of the woman beside her, Lin Yuzhen's eyes flashed with surprise. However, she didn't stop and continued to walk forward. "Men, stop her!" Ji Chongkong shouted in front of the holy palace. "Let her go. You're not her opponent." Ji Yuechu's weak voice sounded from the holy palace. Ji Chongkong's body trembled. He unwillingly waved his hand and dismissed the guards blocking the way. Lin Yuzhen sneered. She didn't say anything and walked away. At the same time, outside White Emperor City, 4 figures walked over. Among the 4, There was a young girl pushing a wheelchair. She looked left and right curiously along the way. Chapter 802. In White Emperor City, Qing Ning's group arrived. Ener pushed the wheelchair and looked at the bustling streets. Sister Morong, help me push the wheelchair for a while. After saying that, Ener left the person in the wheelchair and ran to the side to buy things happily. Seeing this, Qing Ning slowed down with a headache. This girl, she was so heartless, just like her master when she first entered the palace. Morong stepped forward to push the wheelchair and looked at the woman beside her. Miss Qing, it's been so many years. Is that Miss Ruashi still here? She should still be here. Qing Ning nodded. At that time, Ruashi sent a letter saying that she and Wu Lei were guests at the Ji family. Later, they didn't go back. Maybe they were delayed by something. How do we find her? Go directly to the Ji family? Morong whispered. Qing Ning shook her head. One must be vigilant. Ning Chen's identity can't be known by others. I can go to the Ji family alone. Morong thought for a while and nodded. The two continued to move forward. In front, Ener was running around, buying many things along the way. Her hands and mouth were full. I heard that young Master Ning is a cold and heartless person. I didn't expect his disciple to be like a child. Morong pushed the wheelchair and said with a calm expression. Ener's personality is very similar to Ning Chen's when he was young. It's just that he's experienced too many things later on. That's why he's become so unreasonable. In reality, he's the one who hates fighting the most in this world. Qing Ning's gaze was gentle as she replied. Sister Qing Ning, where are we staying tonight? Are we going to the Ji family? Ener was a little tired from playing, so she ran back and asked. You and Morong find an inn to rest temporarily. I'll go to the Ji family to find your sister Ruashi. Qing Ning said softly. I want to go too. Ener muttered softly. Be good. You still have to protect your master. This time you can't lose your master. Qing Ning exhorted. Oh. Ener pouted and reluctantly agreed. In front of an inn, the four people walked over. Qing Ning quickly arranged things here and left. On the second floor of the inn, Ener was lying in front of the window, looking outside in boredom. She wanted to go out and play, but she didn't dare to. Morong sat by the bed and wiped the dust off the man's face. She looked at the maidservant beside her and said softly, Ener, if you want to go out, then go out. I'll watch over here. No. Ener mumbled before continuing. Big Sister Mu, you don't have any cultivation right now. If there are bad guys, you won't be able to handle them. Don't worry, this is the Ji family's territory. No one will cause trouble here. Morong smiled. Ener was a little tempted, but after a moment she shook her head and said, I think I'd better not go. I'll wait for Sister Qing Ning to come back before going out. Morong smiled and didn't say anything else. Inside the Ji family's main sect, numerous majestic halls stood in great numbers. After experiencing a terrifying battle just now, the atmosphere was somewhat stifling. The Ji clan's sacred leader had been injured. This was a major event that shocked the entire Ji clan. All the important figures of the Ji clan returned to discuss how to deal with Prince Qi. Lin Yuzhen's strength had exceeded the Ji clan's expectations. The Ji clan's sacred leader had already reached the peak of the true realm, but he had still been defeated by her. This was a result that no one had expected. Sacred leader, how is your body? Why don't you rest for a few days? Let us handle the Ji clan's matters for now. In the Ji clan's sacred hall, an old man sitting below the main seat spoke up. Thank you for your concern, Grand Elder. I'm fine. Ji Yuechu replied tiredly from the main seat. After sitting down, the Ji clan's Grand Elders looked at the sacred leader's expression. They all had different thoughts. They could see that the sacred leader's injuries were not light. It would be very difficult for him to recover in a short period of time. At the same time, Qing Ning walked over to the Ji clan's disciples guarding the entrance. Miss, please wait a moment. Seeing that the newcomer had an extraordinary aura, the Ji clan's disciples didn't dare to be negligent. They nodded and walked into the Ji clan. Not long after, a well-dressed maid walked over and respectfully bowed. Miss Qing, my young miss invites you. Qing Ning nodded and stepped forward to follow. On the east side of the Ji clan's sacred hall, in a quiet side hall, a woman was waiting quietly. Her face was flawless and her temperament was extraordinary. She was the pride of the heavens. "Young miss, the person has arrived." The maid came forward and bowed. "And, you can leave first," Ji Yuqing said. The maid accepted the order and turned to leave. "Miss, are you the Miss Qing Ning that Ruoxi spoke of?" Ji Yuqing looked at the green-clothed woman in front of her with a strange light in her eyes. "Qing Ning greets you. Sorry to disturb young Mississippi." Qing Ning stepped forward and politely bowed. "Miss Qing, there's no need to be so polite. Ruoxi will be here soon. Let's go inside and wait." Ji Yuqing smiled. Qing Ning nodded and stepped forward to follow. Inside the Rain Pavilion Hall, two maids came forward to serve tea, and immediately turned to leave. "Why is only Miss Qing Ning here? Didn't young Master Ning come?" Ji Yuqing was puzzled. "Something came up, so I came alone to pick up the girl. Ruoxi has been here for a long time. It's time to go back," Qing Ning responded. As soon as her voice fell, a beautiful figure quickly walked in from outside the hall. After seeing the woman in the hall, her face showed excitement and shouted, "Sister Qing Ning!" Qing Ning's gaze shifted to the approaching figure and smiled. "Ruoxi, you've been out for so long. Have you forgotten all about us? Don't you know how to go home?" Ruoxi heard this and embarrassedly replied, "Sister Qing Ning, don't laugh at me. Wu Lei's cultivation has reached a critical point and has been in seclusion for a long time. I've been waiting for her here, so I haven't gone back." "Oh," Qing Ning showed a strange expression. "That girl is about to break through again? That's really fast. I remember she's not much older than Iner, but she's much more capable than Iner." Ruoxi covered her mouth and smiled. "Iner has been following young master since she started cultivating. She's like a little ancestor who can control her." Speaking up to hear, Ruoxi looked around and asked, "Where's young master? Why didn't he come?" "Ningchen has some matters to attend to, so he didn't come. I'm here today to pick you up," Qing Ning said softly. Ruoxi showed a difficult expression and said, "Then what about Wu Lei?" "I'll come back to pick her up in a few days," Qing Ning said. Ruoxi thought for a moment and nodded gently. She then bowed to Ji Yuqing, who was sitting at the side, and said, "Yuqing, thank you for your hospitality these days. Since Qing Ning has come to pick me up, I'll go back first." "Okay." Ji Yuqing nodded slightly and said, "Don't worry, Wu Lei will be fine here. Please help me tell your young master that Yuqing thanks him for taking care of her on the ancient road. If he has time, he's welcome to visit our Ji family." "And I'll pass on the message," Ruoxi whispered. "Miss Ji, it's getting late. Ruoxi, and I won't disturb you any longer. Goodbye." Qing Ning got up and said goodbye. Then, she walked out of the hall with the woman beside her. Not long after the two left, a middle-aged man in blue and white clothes appeared in the hall. Looking at the two leaving, he said, "That Ningchen didn't come?" "Father." Ji Yuqing got up and bowed. Shaking her head, she said, "No, this Miss Qing is young Master Ning's elder sister. This time she came in person. It should be that young Master Ning has something to do. What a pity. I originally wanted to see what kind of heavenly genius Mo Gate's ninth son is," Ji Yuechu said regretfully. "Father, is that really what you think?" Ji Yuqing looked over and asked seriously, What do you think father is thinking?" Ji Yuechu smiled. "Young Master Ning has slaughtered many star fields venerables in the ancient battlefield. Not to mention other star fields. Even our Ji family's spirit void star field has countless people who want to take his life. If we can capture young Master Ning and hand him over to them, regardless of life or death, I think it will be a good opportunity for our Ji family to gain favor and prestige," Ji Yuqing said seriously. "My daughter has really grown up. You know how to analyze the pros and cons. However, are these words in your heart, or are you using them to test me?" Ji Yuechu's smile didn't change. "What does father think?" Ji Yuqing calmly said. "Heh." Ji Yuechu chuckled and said, "No matter what, I'm gratified that you can think of this. All right, you don't have to be so worried. Since you are indebted to the ninth son of Mo Gate, I won't easily make things difficult for him. Of course, The premise is that he can't do anything that will harm our Ji family's interests. Ji Yuqing didn't say anything after hearing that. She bowed and said, "Yuqing thanks father." Ji Yuechu nodded and looked out of the hall. A strange look flashed across his face. Is it a coincidence that the elder sister of Mo Gate's ninth son is here at this time? The high priest of Beiki is quite powerful. Unless it's a true realm expert, no one has the confidence to take his life. If one only considers strength, Mo Gate's ninth son is also a suspect. At the same time, in Fengming City, a woman in armor walked into the palace and bowed respectfully. Your Highness, Miss Ruoxi, whom you asked the spies to keep an eye on, just left the Ji family not long ago. Oh, in the palace, Lin Yuzhen turned around and asked with a strange look, is it just her alone? No, there's a woman in green beside her. Her cultivation is around the true realm, the woman replied. No one else? Lin Yuzhen asked with a serious look. No, the woman said respectfully. I understand. You may leave first. Lin Yuzhen waved her hand. Yes. The woman got up and left. Your Highness, what's wrong? Concubine Yun stepped forward and asked. The ninth son of Mo Gate is here, Lin Yuzhen said calmly. How did your Highness know? Concubine Yin was startled and puzzled. The Phoenix Guards didn't report this matter just now. Intuition, Lin Yuzhen said lightly. A woman's straightforwardness has always been accurate. This time was no exception. Let's go, follow this king to White Emperor City, and meet our brother Ning. After that, Lin Yuzhen stepped out of the palace and walked out of King City. Concubine Yin came back to her senses and immediately followed. Her eyes were still filled with suspicion. She couldn't understand why Her Highness wanted to go in person, just because of intuition. Chapter 803. The moon was bright, and the stars were sparse. Outside White Emperor City, the two walked for 1,000 miles before stopping. Sister Qing Ning, did young master really not come? Ruoxi asked doubtfully. He came. Qing Ning said. Ruoxi was startled. Where? White Emperor City. Qing Ning turned around and looked at the glorious city in the distance. Something happened to Ning Chen. He's been in a coma for 10 years. Ruoxi's body shook, her face full of disbelief. I was worried that someone would follow us, so I took you away from White Emperor City first. Let's go back now. How did something happen to young master? Ruoxi asked worriedly. He was injured when saving Ghost Woman. Qing Ning replied. Ning Chen's body was destroyed in the heavenly punishment. After Ghost Woman woke up, she used the immortal peach tree to reconstruct his essence. In the past 10 years, I used my own blood to help him recover his body, but for some reason, he hasn't woken up. Ruoxi was shocked. What about Ghost Woman? Did she come too? No. Do you remember the immortal corpse that Ning Chen mentioned that looked exactly like Ghost Woman? After she reconstructed Ning Chen's essence, they left together. Qing Ning replied. Ruoxi frowned. She left? Is Ghost Woman really resurrected? With her temperament, how could she leave without waiting for young master to wake up? Qing Ning sighed softly. The matter of coming back from the dead is unimaginable. I can't be sure. The only thing I can be sure of is that Ghost Woman is different from before. I can't see any emotion in her eyes. Even her consciousness doesn't seem to have returned. Did she fail? Ruoxi narrowed her eyes. I'm not sure. We'll talk about this later. The most important thing now is to find a way to wake Ning Chen up as soon as possible. Qing Ning said worriedly. Has young master shown any signs of waking up in the past 10 years? Ruoxi was puzzled. It's a long story. Let's talk about it on the way. Qing Ning said, and her figure flashed back the way they came. Ruoxi nodded and followed with light footsteps. White Emperor City. After night fell, the entire ancient city quieted down. On the second floor of the inn, Qing Ning and Ruoxi knocked on the door and immediately pushed it open. When he saw the two of them, the wariness on Morong's face finally disappeared, and he secretly sighed in relief. In the room, beside the table, Yin who had been waiting, was so sleepy that her eyes were fighting to stay open. When she heard the noise, she looked at the two of them in a daze. Then, she quivered and came back to her senses. Sister Qing Ning, You're finally back. Einar jumped up happily. Qing Ning stretched out her hand to knock on the maid's head and said softly, "Keep your voice down. Do you want to wake up everyone in the inn?" When Einar heard this, she covered her mouth and giggled, not daring to speak loudly. On the other side, Ruashi worriedly walked to the bed and reached out to check the pulse of the person on the bed. After a long time, the look in her eyes became more and more intense. The love goo was indeed awakened by Miss Morong's primordial yin. However, young master's pulse didn't show any abnormalities. Logically speaking, he should have woken up a long time ago. A few days ago, when Morong was in danger, Ningchen helped her. However, when we rushed over, we found that he still hadn't woken up. Qing Ning said, "The love goo does have the ability to stimulate its host. Because Morong's primordial yin saved it. When Morong is in danger, the love goo will produce a kind of poison. It allows young master to feel Morong's danger and help her." Ruashi explained. Next to her, Einar was in a daze. She shook her little head vigorously and muttered, "I don't understand. Then how can master wake up?" Simple. While speaking, the door was pushed open with a creak. A handsome figure walked in and looked at the four people. He smiled and said, "Let Miss Morong experience another life and death crisis." Seeing the person who came, Ruashi trembled and said in shock, "Prince Qi." Feeling the powerful aura of the former, Einar also became nervous and subconsciously stood in front of the bed to protect her master. "There's no need to be nervous. This prince is friends with young Master Ning behind you. This time, I only came to repay a favor from back then," Lin Yuzhen said. Einar looked at the person next to her suspiciously. How come she didn't know that her master knew this Prince Qi? Einar, move aside. If he wanted to harm your master, he wouldn't have waited until now, Qing Ning calmly said. The people around Mo Gate's ninth son really aren't ordinary. Lin Yuzhen chuckled and stepped forward. She stretched out her hand and probed the meridians of the man on the bed. A vast amount of true qi poured into his body. Einar nervously watched, afraid that this person would harm her master. How strange. Sensing that the true qi in Ning Chen's body had disappeared, Lin Yuzhen's eyes flashed with surprise. She withdrew her hand and said, "His body can actually contain so much energy. Is there a way?" Qing Ning asked. "His aura is different from the first time this prince saw him. Can you tell me why?" Lin Yuzhen asked seriously. "His body has been reconstructed, so his aura has changed," Qing Ning truthfully said. "His body has been reconstructed." Lin Yuzhen frowned and asked, "What is the foundation?" "The core of a divine tree," Qing Ning calmly said. Lin Yuzhen was silent. After a moment she said, "Perhaps I know why he can devour so much energy. The divine tree you speak of shouldn't be an ordinary divine object. Young Master Ning's body was reconstructed using this divine tree as the foundation. So the amount of true qi needed to restore it to its original state must be extremely terrifying." Lin Yuzhen paused for a moment and looked at the four of them. She sternly said, "This prince has two suggestions. Which one you choose will depend on you. First, let him maintain his current state. As long as we can find enough heavenly treasures, once his body completely recovers, he should be able to wake up. Second, according to this prince's previous suggestion, let Miss Morong once again fall into a life and death crisis. Perhaps it can stimulate young Master Ning to wake up earlier. I can go by heavenly treasures. How much do you need?" Einar asked while holding her little pouch. "You will have to ask Miss Qing about this. How much true qi will be needed to restore young Master Ning's body to its original state?" Lin Yuzhen earnestly asked. Qing Ning fell silent. She couldn't answer this question. The undying peach tree needed 9,000 years to bloom and bear fruit. Ning Chen's physical body was reforged using it as a foundation. Even if it didn't take that many years, the amount of energy required was still terrifying beyond imagination. "It seems like the first method isn't feasible," Lin Yuzhen calmly said. "Then we can only choose the second method. Let young Master Ning wake up first, then deal with his body's problem." "No." Qing Ning gently shook her head and said, "I know Ning Chen's character. If something happens to Morong because of saving him, even if he wakes up, he will feel guilty for the rest of his life." Qing Ning, let me do it. My body can't hold on for much longer. If I can save him, it will be worth it, Morong softly said. Absolutely not. Qing Ning rejected her once again without the slightest hesitation. I also want to save him, but I can't sacrifice you. This isn't a matter of whether it's worth it or not. You don't have to say it again. Lin Yuzhen calmly looked on from the side and didn't say anything. It was rumored that Mo Gate's ninth disciple was a cold-blooded murderous demon. Who would have thought that he and the people beside him were the world's most reasonable people? Both methods were rejected, and the atmosphere became tense. Morong sighed softly, her heart filled with complex emotions. She rejoiced that she had met Ning Chun, Qing Ning, and the others before the end of her life. She had felt the true warmth of humanity, but she also felt somewhat helpless. She wanted to save him, but they wouldn't agree. Actually, when I said that we should put young Lady Morong in danger, we don't need to sacrifice you. As long as we can save him in time, young Lady Morong's safety shouldn't be a problem, Lin Yuzhen said. Morong looked over at her with a puzzled expression. Lin Yuzhen put away her fan and flickered. She raised her hand and pointed it at the woman's chest. Her killing intent was bone-chilling. An inch away, Lin Yuzhen stopped and looked at the man on the bed. She sighed. As expected, it won't work. It seems we need to put young Lady Morong in true danger. After saying that, Lin Yuzhen looked at the woman beside her and said, Young Lady Qing, in 10 days, I will go to the Ji family to cause a ruckus. At that time, I can bring young Lady Morong with me. Perhaps that will stimulate young Master Ning to wake up. Of course, don't worry, I will always be on the lookout. I won't let anything happen to young Lady Morong. Qing Ning, let me go. Without waiting for the woman beside him to refuse, Morong's expression turned serious as he resolutely said, With Prince Qi here, nothing will happen to me. Furthermore, I've already given my everything to him. I don't want to die without saying a single word to him. Qing Ning stiffened. A moment later, she sighed and said tiredly, You can make your own decision. Morong looked at the cross-dressing woman in front of her and earnestly said, Your Highness Prince Qi, I'll have to trouble you this time. Don't worry, I will do my best to ensure young lady's safety. Lin Yuzhen softly replied, then continued, That's right, why don't you all temporarily come to my Phoenix Cry City? Since I was able to find this place, the Ji family will definitely be able to as well. The Ji family's power in White Emperor City is much more terrifying than you know. Qing Ning thought for a moment then nodded. Then I'll have to trouble you. You're welcome. Lin Yuzhen smiled and extended her hand. Please. Qing Ning nodded and helped Ning Chun onto the wheelchair. She then pushed him out of the room. Ina ran up and glanced behind her. She secretly asked, Big Sister Qing Ning, she isn't a bad person, right? A person's heart is hard to fathom. However, at least for now, she doesn't have any enmity towards us, replied Qing Ning. Oh, Ina softly replied. She once again looked at Lin Yuzhen behind her, then hastily turned her head away again. Lin Yuzhen smiled and didn't mind. So this girl was young Master Ning's disciple? Her talent wasn't bad, but she was a bit stupid. It was hard for a person to grow without experiencing wind and rain. However, it seemed that young Master Ning didn't want this girl to become a second him. Was it because he had experienced too much and didn't want this child to experience the same pain? Chapter 804. Phoenix Cry City, Royal Palace. There was an exquisite and luxurious palace that lacked the luxury of an emperor's palace, but was more exquisite. Lin Yuzhen, who had returned to the royal palace, was still wearing his elegant royal robes. He was handsome and noble. Prince Qi of Beiki had been a man since he was young. He had spent his entire life in the military and did not lose to any famous general. He had coincidentally embarked on the path of cultivation and was famous throughout the world. It could be said that Prince Qi was a legendary existence in the White Emperor Star, and even the entire Spirit Void Star region. Lin Yuzhen and Qing Ning were sitting in the Phoenix Cry Palace, discussing matters together. In the guest room, Morong and Ruashi were carefully taking care of the unconscious Ning Chun, not daring to be careless. Yin Er, who couldn't stay idle, was being led around by the palace maids. She was nowhere to be found. 10 days later, is Prince Qi really going to attack the Ji family? Qing Ning asked. I've already said it, how can I go back on my words? Lin Yuzhen smiled. Aristocratic families run deep, especially a behemoth like the Ji family. Their background is unfathomable. Although Prince Qi is not afraid of anyone, it's not a good choice to take the risk alone. Qing Ning said softly. It's fine. Lin Yuzhen smiled and said, the only person in the Ji family who can threaten my safety, Ji Yuechu, is injured. As long as I'm careful, there won't be any danger on this trip to the Ji family. Does Prince Qi really believe that the Ji family is responsible for the death of your high priest? Qing Ning asked calmly. It's not important whether it is or not. Lin Yuzhen smiled and said, what's important is that someone has to take responsibility for this matter. The blood of the Ji family is on the altar, so they must pay the price. When Qing Ning heard this, she was silent for a moment. She was unwilling to say anything more on this topic, so she changed the topic. Your Highness Prince Qi, are you really confident that you can bring Morong back safely? If you can't, then please tell me clearly. I cannot let Morong take this risk. Lin Yuzhen looked at the woman in front of him and said, Miss Qing, this Miss Morong shouldn't be familiar with you, right? I can more or less see that. Qing Ning nodded and did not hide anything. She said, it's true that we haven't known Morong for long, but Morong saved Ning Chun before, so I have the responsibility to ensure her safety. Lin Yuzhen nodded and said, to be honest, the poison in Miss Morong's body has already invaded her internal organs. There is no medicine that can cure her. If you hadn't been suppressing the poison with your genuine qi, she wouldn't have been able to hold on. However, this is only a temporary measure. Unless you can find a way to rebuild Miss Morong's body, like you did for young Master Ning, her body won't be able to hold on for long. Qing Ning fell silent, not saying anything for a long time. Reconstructing a physical body was easier said than done. How could there be a second undying divine tree in this world? It seems that Miss Qing has no other choice. Since that's the case, why don't we let Miss Morong have a taste of her heart's desire? She has already given herself to young Master Ning. If she can't even say a word to him before she dies, how regretful would that be? Lin Yuzhen said seriously. Qing Ning stood up, silently stepped forward and bowed. Qing Ning beseeches Your Highness Prince Qi to protect Morong to the best of your ability, so that she can return safely. I will definitely do my best. Lin Yuzhen replied seriously. Back then, Ning Chun had gifted her the heavenly ship. She had never had the chance to return this favor. Now was the best chance. Protecting a person wasn't difficult for her. If it was as easy as lifting a hand to save a powerhouse whose name shook the starry skies, it would be worth it. Your Highness. At this moment, a phoenix guard walked out from outside the hall and respectfully said, the Qilin Pavilion has sent someone to deliver an invitation card, inviting Your Highness to be a guest. Qilin Pavilion? Lin Yuzhen frowned slightly and took the invitation card. After reading it, her eyes narrowed slightly. It was truly one wave after another. Understood. You may leave, Lin Yuzhen said calmly. Yes. The Phoenix Guard accepted the order and left. Does Your Highness have something to take care of? Then Qing Ning will leave first. Seeing the former's serious expression, Qing Ning stood up and said, no need. Lin Yuzhen returned to her senses and raised her hand. It just so happens that I also want to hear Miss Qing's suggestion. While speaking, Lin Yuzhen handed over the invitation card in her hand and said, does Miss Qing know what kind of place the Qilin Pavilion is? Qing Ning took the invitation card and looked at it. She shook her head and said, I'm not sure. Lin Yuzhen looked at the Qilin symbol on the invitation card and said, for tens of thousands of years, in the various starfields, there have been countless sects and great sections. Among them, there are 11 that are the most powerful. They are called the One Mansion, One Hall, 2 Lineages, 3 Sects, and 4 Pavilions. The One Mansion and One Hall are respectively the Underworld and the Underworld. The 2 lineages refer to the Spirit Void G family's god bloodline, and the Alcade Starfields by family's true immortal bloodline. The 3 sects refer to the Buddhist, Taoist, and Devil sections. The 4 pavilions refer to the Sword Pavilion, Qilin Pavilion, Butian Pavilion, and Qitian Pavilion. Speaking up to here, Lin Yuzhen's tone changed and said, "However, time is merciless. Even these colossi cannot last forever. According to what I know, the original strongest 1 mansion and 1 hall, the underworld, has collapsed, and the underworld has suffered great losses. Among the 3 sects, the Taoist inheritance has almost disappeared. The Buddhist kingdom has been passed down to this day, but it has always been very low-key and aloof from worldly affairs. As for the Devil sect, due to internal strife, it has not appeared for a long time. Compared to these inheritances that have almost disappeared, the 2 lineages and 4 pavilions have always existed in the world. The difference is that the 2 lineages are known to the world, while the 4 pavilions are hidden in the dark. Does Your Highness Prince Qi have any dealings with the Qilin Pavilion?" Qing Ning asked. "It's precisely because they don't that this prince finds it strange," Lin Yuzhen said seriously. "It's true that the Qilin Pavilion is in the spirit void realm. However, this prince has never had any dealings with them. For them to send an invitation at this time is truly puzzling. There's no good banquet, there's no good meeting," Qing Ning said calmly. The Qilin Pavilion had set the time to be 10 days later, and it was obvious that they knew about the matter between Prince Qi and the Ji family. 10 days later, no matter if Prince Qi was able to walk out of the Ji family safely or not, he would definitely have consumed quite a bit of his cultivation. It was impossible for him to be in his peak state. Looks like Miss Qing has the same thoughts as this prince. This Qilin Pavilion's invitation is a hot potato, Lin Yuzhen said calmly. One who was unaccountably solicitous was hiding evil intentions. The Qilin Pavilion had not appeared for thousands of years, and the moment they appeared, they sent an invitation to Phoenix Cry City. It did not seem like a good thing. "Does Your Highness want to go?" Qing Ning asked. "I have no choice but to go," Lin Yuzhen said seriously. The Qilin Pavilion's strength does not lose out to the Ji family. This prince is not conceited enough to be able to contend against 2 great peak inheritances at the same time. The confrontation between Phoenix Cry City and the Ji family was due to the territorial issue, and there was no other choice. However, the Qilin Pavilion was different. Up until now, she did not have any direct conflict with the Qilin Pavilion. If she could avoid becoming enemies, that would be the best thing. Qing Ning sighed softly in her heart. As a woman, this Prince Qi was definitely worthy of being a prodigy of a generation. However, no matter how strong a person was, it was impossible for them to do whatever they wanted. Prince Qi was the same. "Your Highness, Miss Yin has left the palace." Outside the palace, the Phoenix Guard quickly walked in and reported. Lin Yuzhen looked at the person in front of him and did not say anything. "Don't bother about her. When she's tired from playing, she will return by herself," Qing Ning said. Lin Yuzhen nodded towards the Phoenix Guard and let him do as he was told. The Phoenix Guard respectfully accepted the order and retreated. "Miss Qing, this Miss Yin is a good seedling. Don't delay her," Lin Yuzhen tactfully reminded. Qing Ning smiled and softly said, "I understand Your Highness' good intentions. But Ningchen told me before that there is no need to force this girl too much. As long as she can grow up happily, it doesn't matter whether or not she can become a powerhouse that shakes the world." Lin Yuzhen gently nodded. A master was a master, and a master was like a father to her. Perhaps his words were correct. In Phoenix Cry City, Yin was hugging a pile of things in her arms. She ran here and there, not resting for a moment. Behind her, 2 Phoenix Guards followed her from a distance, carefully protecting the person in front. "Big sisters, can you help me carry these things?" After a long time, Yin ran back with the things she was carrying. She gave a small portion to the 2 Phoenix Guards and embarrassedly said, "I can't carry them all." The 2 Phoenix Guards received the things. They couldn't help but look at each other in dismay, helplessness flashing on their faces. They had been ordered to protect this girl. It seemed this wasn't an easy task. In a guest room of Phoenix Cry Palace, Ruashi brought in some clean water and wiped the body of the person on the bed. It was like she was a little maid 100 years ago. Even after 100 years, nothing had changed. To the side, Morong blushed and turned away. The shyness of a girl was clearly evident. Morong, come and help. Ruashi saw this and said, Oh. Morong nervously responded. She walked over to the bed, not knowing what to do. Why are you more nervous than me? Ruashi helplessly said. As Morong heard this, her face flushed red, and she became even more flustered. Help me lift up the young master. Don't wet the bed. Ruashi urged. Morong sat on the edge of the bed and helped the man up. For a time, she didn't know where to look. Half an hour's time felt like half a year to Morong. Half an hour later, Ruashi finished wiping Ningchen's body and helped him put on his clothes. Only then did Morong she let out a long sigh of relief. At this time, outside the room, the door creaked open and Ina ran in. As she saw the situation in the room, she immediately cried out in alarm and covered her eyes with her hands. Crash! Crash! The pile of things in the little girl's arms fell to the ground, spilling everywhere. What are you shouting for? I finished wiping him. Ruashi stepped forward and knocked on the former's head. Ina opened her eyes and saw that her master was indeed dressed. She giggled and squatted down to pick up her things. Ruashi carried the water out of the room. Morong stepped forward and squatted down to help pick up the things. She asked, Ina, where's your big sister Qing Ning? She's discussing something with Prince Qi. Ina thought for a moment. Morong nodded and whispered, 10 days from now, you must protect your master well. Don't lose him again. Ina nodded vigorously, I will. Morong gently smiled. She picked up the last of the things and placed them in the little girl's arms. Then she stood up. She hoped that this time, Sir Ning would truly wake up. Then, even if she died, she would be able to rest in peace. Chapter 805. Phoenix Cry Palace. Time passed day after day. In the blink of an eye, 10 days had passed. The entire atmosphere of Phoenix Cry Palace became solemn. As the sun rose, Lin Yuzhen walked out from Phoenix Cry Palace. Her hair was tied up, and she held a divine sword in her hand. She was handsome and heroic, revealing the calmness and strength of a king. From the side, Ina pushed a wheelchair forward. Morong followed beside her, as they walked out of the royal palace. Behind them, Qing Ning and Ruashi followed from a distance. For this trip to the Ji family, it wasn't good for them to show their faces. They had to act in secret. White Emperor City, the Ji family's main sect. They were a colossus that had existed for countless years. Today they were facing a great enemy. The entire Ji family was on guard. Layers upon layers of array formations were activated, shining with a brilliant light. As the sun rose to the southeast, outside the Ji family, a handsome and extraordinary figure walked in. Step by step, he stepped on the hearts of the many powerhouses guarding the Ji family. With Prince Qi's arrival, the Ji family's 4 highest elders appeared. They stood in an array formation, guarding against this great enemy. Outside the Ji family, Lin Yuzhen looked at the 4 people in front of her. She coldly said, 10 days have passed. Have you considered whether you want to hand over the murderer of my dynasty's high priest, or allow me to seek justice for myself? Lin Yuzhen, this is not your Phoenix Cry City. This is not a place where you can be so presumptuous. Ji Chongkong walked out, his voice gloomy. So you won't hand it over? As she spoke, true essence surged around Lin Yuzhen's body. A powerful pressure swept out. Immediately, the skies above White Emperor City changed, and the sun lost its color. Behind her, Morong followed close behind. She was actually the calmest of the 4. 10 miles away, within White Emperor City, Ina pushed Ningchen's wheelchair as she looked at the Ji family battle in the distance. Her face flashed with nervousness. Not too far away, Qing Ning and Ruashi were silently watching, waiting for the great battle to begin. At the same time, in different places, the void fluctuated and figures appeared one after another. All the influences had arrived, waiting to witness Prince Qi's battle to topple the undefeated legend of the Ji family. Pavilion Master, didn't you say you were going to the Buddhist kingdom? Why did you come here first? 1,000 miles away, in the distorted void, Hong Luan asked the man beside her. I received news that our debtor is going to challenge the Ji family alone. This tower master naturally has to come and take a look. If she dies, who will this tower master look for to get the money she owes? The Dawn Moon Tower Master said with a light smile. Does Pavilion Master believe that Prince Chi will lose? Hong Wan was puzzled. That's not it. The Dawn Moon Tower Mistress shook her head and said, that woman Lin Yuzhen is ridiculously strong. In a head-on battle, no one in the Ji clan other than the Sacred Master can last more than 100 moves against her. However, aristocratic clans are very complicated. Who knows if the Ji clan's divine bloodline has any hidden trump cards? So many people are paying attention to this battle. The Ji family shouldn't use any underhanded methods, right? Hong Wan asked seriously. The trump cards I'm talking about aren't sinister methods, but those old monsters that can't see the light of day in the depths of the Ji family. Let's see how far Lin Yuzhen can force the Ji family, said the Dawn Moon Pavilion's master. As the two of them spoke, in front of the Ji family's formation, Lin Yuzhen released her cultivation. A powerful pressure swept out in all directions, causing the skies to change color. Morong, follow behind me. Don't go more than 100 steps, Lin Yuzhen warned. Yes. Morong nodded and agreed softly. Let's go. With that, Lin Yuzhen's figure flashed, and she rushed into the Ji family's formation. Morong quickly followed. Although she had lost her cultivation, she could still keep up within 100 steps. Oh, who is that? 1,000 miles away, the Dawn Moon Tower Mistress narrowed her eyes at the woman following behind Lin Yuzhen. Who was this person? She actually dared to enter the formation with Prince Chi. Did she have a death wish? Within the Ji family, Prince Chi had entered the formation, and the 4 Grand Elders had joined forces to obstruct him. Lin Yuzhen fought the 4 Grand Elders alone, and her figure moved with the momentum of a thunderbolt as she fought the 4 Grand Elders of the Ji family. After exchanging 10 moves, the formation constantly flickered and shook violently. Their palms collided, causing shockwaves to roar through the heavens. You think you're the only ones who can stop me? How naive. Lin Yuzhen's figure flipped, and she withdrew from the battle. Her slender hand transformed into wind and lightning. In an instant, heavenly lightning surged and gales roared as she charged at the 4 Grand Elders. Their expressions changed, and they joined hands to block the attack. With a loud bang, they all retreated. Retreat! The 4 Supreme Elders of the Ji clan immediately retreated from the formation and disappeared. Lin Yuzhen waved her hand to disperse the formation and walked forward with a cold expression. 100 steps behind her, Morong quietly followed without a trace of nervousness or fear. Boom! At that moment, the void shook, and 3 enormous war chariots appeared above the Ji family. On the war chariots stood ancient warriors in golden armor. Although they didn't have any vitality, their powerful auras didn't lose to any of the Grand Elders. Golden-armored war chariots. Seeing the 3 war chariots in the sky, Lin Yuzhen's eyes flashed. She took a step forward and flew into the air. Her slender hand clenched into a fist, and she punched the golden warriors on the war chariots. With a loud rumble, the powerful punch landed on the golden warriors and war chariots. The war chariots flew 100 feet away and crashed into the ground. However, they weren't damaged at all. Behind them, 2 war chariots attacked. Their mountain-like bodies collided with Prince Chi, and the void couldn't bear the huge force and collapsed. Prince Chi took a step forward and moved through the air, avoiding the 2 war chariots. Boom! The 2 war chariots collided, but the incomparably hard war chariots were still undamaged. On the war chariots, the 2 golden warriors waved their halberds and slashed through the void. Prince Chi's eyes narrowed, and his figure flashed, dodging again. Behind him, the war chariots that had crashed to the ground flew up, and the golden warriors waved their halberds with great force. 3 broken chariots dare to block this king's path? Prince Chi's expression turned cold, and he directly punched the halberds. With a violent tremor, the halberds in the golden warriors' hands shattered, and the war chariots beneath them crashed into the ground again. A rumble resounded through the world. Within the Ji family, the ascending immortals were all shocked. Prince Chi's strength was truly shocking. The 3 war chariots each had the power of a mid-stage true realm expert, but they were still unable to withstand a single blow from him. The most frightening thing was that Prince Qi still hadn't unsheathed his Phoenix Cry sword. Summon the immortal artifact. In front of the Ji family's sacred hall, a white-robed elder said coldly. Yes. The 100 or so guards of the Ji family all half-knelt, and boundless karmic luck soared into the sky. Within the dazzling azure gold light, an immortal cauldron appeared, its dazzling brilliance illuminating the world. Its might shook the heavens. The appearance of the immortal cauldron caused a terrifying pressure to appear within the Ji family. Azure gold light shot out from the immortal cauldron, pressing down on the figure in the sky. Lin Yuzhen's expression turned serious, and she slowly drew her Phoenix Cry sword. At this moment, the cry of a phoenix echoed in the sky, and an abnormally powerful pressure spread from the sword. The image of a phoenix soared into the sky, directly colliding with the azure gold light. The clash between an immortal item and a divine sword shook the heavens and the earth. The 3 war chariots saw the opportunity, and once again broke through the sky. Phoenix dances 9 heavens. With an almost undetectable sound, the Phoenix Cry sword in Lin Yuzhen's hand slashed out streaks of light, and the images of phoenixes appeared and swallowed the 3 war chariots. Crack! The phoenixes charged, and the sword light split the world. The unstoppable divine sword cut the 3 war chariots in half, and with several thumps, the wreckage fell to the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust. Buzz! In the sky, the light of the immortal cauldron shone again, and the azure gold light shone brightly. From the engraved runes, an illusory war god appeared, waving his halberd and slashing at the king in the sky. The sword and halberd collided, and the flowing light shook. Lin Yuzhen flipped her palm, and pushed back the illusory war god in front of her. Her eyes turned cold, and her sword moved, causing the wind and thunder to howl, splitting the sky and earth. The illusory war god waved his halberd to meet the divine sword head-on. The vibration sounded, and the figure became even more illusory. In the sky, streaks of light shot out from the immortal cauldron, and each of them had the power of 10,000 pounds. And they fell from the sky. Lin Yuzhen clenched her palm into a fist, and with a punch, she scattered the azure gold light near her. Suddenly, her expression changed, and she hurriedly looked behind her. In the aftermath of the vibration, an azure gold light fell from the sky, and swept toward Murong, who was behind her. Lin Yuzhen's eyes darkened, and her figure quickly turned back, waving her sword to meet the divine power head-on. Boom, boom, boom. The old force was used up, and the moment when Lin Yuzhen could not recover her energy, blood flowed from the corner of her mouth, staining it red for the first time. Kill! In the sacred palace, the white-robed Ji family grand elder said coldly. At his command, figures flashed past one after another. 4 grand elders and 11 peak corporeal realm experts joined forces to kill. Outside the Ji family's battlefield, more than 100 experts activated their powers, supporting the Ji family's immortal artifact and suppressing Prince Qi's power. What is this woman thinking? 1,000 miles away, the Dawn Moon Tower master frowned as she watched the battle from afar. It was strange that she dared to bring a burden when fighting against a colossus like the Ji family. Murong, be careful. In the battle, Lin Yuzhen looked at the immortal cauldron in the sky with a serious expression. Okay. Murong nodded and followed even closer. Amidst the azure gold light, the 4 grand elders of the Ji family joined forces, and behind them, 11 peak corporeal realm experts followed. The vast power was like clouds covering the sun, and it was so heavy that it was difficult to breathe. Lin Yuzhen did not dodge. Her sword condensed vast origin, and her body surged with lightning as she faced the joint forces of the grand elders head-on. In front of the Ji family's sacred palace, the Ji family grand elder looked at the brave figures in the battle. A moment later, his gaze shifted to the woman behind Prince Qi, and a cold smile appeared on his face. He raised his right hand, and immediately, the immortal cauldron in the sky hummed, and a beautiful waterfall of light fell, slashing toward the latter. Despicable! Lin Yuzhen felt it, and her expression changed. She pushed back everyone with her sword, and arrived in front of Murong. She raised her sword and blocked the immortal pressure. A pool of blood splashed out, dyeing her clothes red, and the phoenix cry sword was dyed red. It was very dazzling. Your sins are unforgivable. Furrowing her eyebrows, Lin Yuzhen raised her hand to wipe off the blood at the corner of her mouth. Killing intent exploded from her body, and at that moment, an aura visible to the naked eye surged. On the phoenix cry sword, streaks of blood-colored light surged out, and an ancient power surged out. The cry of the phoenix soared into the sky. Phoenix radiance returns to origin. 3 lights open a path. Extreme power appeared, and the phoenix broke through the sky. Its terrifying power directly collided with the immortal artifact in the sky. 10 miles away from the battle, in front of Yin Ji Ming, who was dressed in plain clothes, was silently lying in a wheelchair. His body that had been unresponsive all this time suddenly moved his right hand. It was so slight that even Yin, who was close by, did not notice it. Chapter 806. In the sky above the Ji family, the phoenix cry crashed into the immortal cauldron. There was a moment of silence before a loud explosion resounded through the universe. Endless turbulence surged and the sky collapsed. Hundreds of Ji family experts protecting the immortal cauldron were stained with blood as they suffered heavy injuries. In the aftermath, the phoenix turned into a sword. Lin Yuzhen held the phoenix cry sword and looked at the heavily injured experts of the Ji family. The coldness in her eyes did not diminish. Below, the 4 supreme elders of the Ji family stabilized their bodies and suppressed the shock in their hearts. They stepped into the air and charged toward the former. Lin Yuzhen sneered and rushed out like lightning. The phoenix cry danced and bright light shone in all directions. Blood splattered everywhere. Without the suppression of the immortal cauldron, the unshakable king of Baiki once again displayed his shocking power. Every time he moved his sword, an array would collapse. In an instant, the 4 supreme elders of the Ji family were all injured. 5 of the 11 peak reality realm experts were heavily injured and completely lost their ability to fight. It's your turn. In front of the holy palace, the great elder of the Ji family glanced at the 9 black-clothed figures behind him and said lightly, "Yes." The 9 of them accepted the order and joined the battle in a flash. At the same time, in a side hall of the Ji family, the Ji family's holy lord, who was supposed to be recuperating in bed, was playing chess with his only daughter. After sensing the 9 special auras outside, the corner of his mouth curled into an incomprehensible smile. "Father, aren't you worried at all?" Ji Yuqing looked at her father in front of her and asked in confusion, "What are you worried about? Are you worried that the great elder and the others will lose? Or that King Qi will lose?" Ji Yuqing smiled. Ji Yuqing's expression froze, and she did not know how to answer. It was common knowledge that the Ji clan was divided into 2 factions. Wherever there were people, there would be conflict. No sect was an exception. Now that her father had been seriously injured by Prince Qi, the first elder had seized the opportunity to seize power. If the first elder could successfully stop Prince Qi, there was no doubt that the first elder's prestige in the Ji clan would rise to an unprecedented level. It would not be impossible for him to seize the opportunity to replace her father as the Holy Lord. However, if King Qi lost, the Ji family's reputation would be greatly damaged. This would be extremely detrimental to their future development. "Father, why don't you look worried at all?" Ji Yuqing was even more confused. Ji Yuechu looked at the chessboard in front of him, picked up a black piece, and said with a chuckle, "The great elder has wanted to seize power for a long time. Now that he finally has the chance, how can he not do his best? However, that Prince Qi is not an easy person to deal with. It will be difficult for the great elder to stop her." Lin Yuzhen had the answer she wanted, and so did he. The death of the high priest of Baiki was just a trigger. He really wanted to see what kind of level the guardian king of Baiki could reach. As soon as the black go piece was placed, the situation of the entire board changed instantly. The dragon was revived and revealed its ferocity. 9 black-clothed experts appeared in the battle of the Ji family. They were all half-step True Realm experts, so they didn't stand out in the battle of True Realm experts. However, after seeing the 9 people appear, The expressions of the 4G family's grand exalts froze. Clearly, they knew how terrifying the 9 people were. Kill. As soon as the word kill was uttered, the 9 black-clothed cultivators were surrounded by black mist. Chains extended horizontally and vertically, locking down the figure in the air. Meditation cultivators. In the void, Lin Yuzhen saw the black mist surrounding the 9 people. Her face turned cold as she swung her sword, breaking the chains that were close to her. As a descendant of the divine bloodline, the Ji family actually cultivates the evil arts of the Hall of the Dead. This is really an eye-opener for me. Lin Yuzhen looked at the white-robed elder in front of the holy temple in the distance, and said coldly, "Power is never divided into good and evil. The only difference is the person who uses it. Prince Qi, if you surrender now, I will spare your life," the great elder of the Ji family said lightly. "Let's see if you have the ability to do so," Lin Yuzhen said coldly. The vital energy around her rose to the extreme, and her aura soared into the sky, stirring up the wind and clouds. Clatter! The sound of chains rang out again, as the 9 figures rose into the air. Chains made of black mist broke through the air and sealed the entire void, leaving no gaps. Death-fire burial! The 9 people shouted. Black underworld flames spread out from the crisscrossing chains that filled the sky, burning the heavens and splitting the earth, turning the void into a sea of black flames. Sensing the terrifying black flames in the sky, the 4 grand elders' eyes palpitated. The reason why the Hall of the Dead and the underworld were known as one residence and one hall in ancient times was because their cultivation arts were extremely terrifying. Even true realm experts would have a hard time resisting these underworld flames. 1,000 miles away, seeing the change in the battle situation, the Waning Moon Pavilion's master's eyes flashed with surprise. The Ji family's hidden methods had truly shocked her. When did they obtain the cultivation arts of the Hall of the Dead? Pavilion Master, are you not going to take action? Hong Wuan asked with a worried expression. Why should I? Offending the Ji family for a Prince Qi is not worth it. I never do business that loses money, the Waning Moon Pavilion's master calmly said. But if Prince Qi dies, won't there be no one to pay back the money he owes us? We will still lose money. Hong Wuan anxiously tried her best to persuade the Waning Moon Pavilion's master. It won't be a loss. The corner of the Waning Moon Pavilion's master's lips curled up. Being able to see such a spectacular battle is worth the money. While the two of them were conversing, the underworld flames were burning the sky and boiling the sea. The space sealed by countless crisscrossing chains was covered by the black flames, making it difficult for others to see the situation within. Time slowly passed, but there was no movement within the sea of black flames. The sealed space was violently collapsing, unable to endure the might of the underworld flames. Is he dead? Ji Changkong looked at the collapsing space and asked. It's already been so long, but he still hasn't come out. Everything points to disaster, Ji Changfeng coldly said. This underworld flame is truly terrifying. First Elder's hidden trump card isn't something a single person can block. Another Grand Elder walked up and looked at the 9 people standing in the sky with a grave expression. How should we deal with that girl? Ji Changfeng's gaze shifted to the girl not far away. Let her die with Prince Qi, Ji Changkong indifferently said. Ji Changfeng nodded and raised his right hand. A powerful force spread out and attacked the girl in front of him. As the murderous intent approached, Morong did not dodge. Instead, he looked in the direction of the Ji residence and revealed a complicated smile. It's truly regretful that I couldn't wait for you to wake up. However, she didn't regret it. The palm energy swiftly rushed over, and a gale whistled. At this moment, the world within a radius of several dozen miles suddenly turned sluggish. Grass and trees flew up, rocks flew into the air, and everything turned into swords. The laws of the world turned into swords. Seeing this, the expressions of the Ji family's elders all changed, and they looked into the distance. In the next moment, 10,000 swords fell and revolved around Morong's body, crisscrossing endlessly and blocking all danger. 10 miles away, on the wheelchair, a red brilliance flourished and phoenix cries resounded throughout the world. Within the specks of starlight, a familiar figure appeared and stepped into the battlefield. Chapter 807. In the Ji family, a red figure appeared in the midst of everyone's shock. He calmly swept his gaze over everyone and waved his right hand to disperse the sword energy around Murong. "Wait for me outside," Ning Chen said with a gentle expression. With a flip of his palm, he condensed Yuan and sent the former out of the Ji clan. Murong Changkong flew out and looked at the figure that was getting further away. The gentleness in his eyes grew stronger. It turned out that his voice was so pleasant to listen to. "Everyone, what does the grudge between you and Prince Qi have to do with that girl? Don't you think it's too much to kill her indiscriminately?" Ning Chen indifferently said. "She was brought here by Prince Qi, and trespassing into the Ji family is a capital offense. How is it too much?" Ji Changkong coldly said. "Is that so?" Ning Chen narrowed his eyes and said, "I was also brought here by Prince Qi and trespassed into the Ji family. Should I also die as an apology?" "If you want to die, we'll fulfill your wish." Ji Changkong took a step forward with murderous intent in his eyes. "Understood," Ning Chen softly replied and looked at the black flames in the sky. "Prince Qi, are you still not coming out? I've been waiting for you for a long time, Brother Ning." Before he finished speaking, the wind and clouds in the sea of black flames swirled, and a handsome figure walked out. The chains shattered and turned into black mist before disappearing. The 4 grand elders of the Ji family were shocked. How could Prince Qi come out unscathed? In a side hall of the Ji family, Ji Yuechi's expression froze as he sensed the changes outside. He put down the chess piece in his hand and stood up. "Who is he?" Ji Yuechi asked. "Mo Gate's 9th son Ning Chen," Ji Yiqing softly replied. After receiving confirmation, Ji Yuechi nodded lightly. Light flashed in his eyes. This unexpected variable was somewhat troublesome. At the same time, 1,000 miles away from the Ji family, the Dawn Moon Tower's master was shocked but soon recovered. "Hong Wuan, let's go," she said. Hong Wuan recovered from her shock and asked, "Are we not going to continue watching?" "No need, the outcome is already decided," the Dawn Moon Tavern master said and turned to leave. Prince Qi and Marquis Jiming were not enough for the Ji clan. If they were to force the issue, the price they would have to pay would be unimaginable. The Ji clan would not make such a stupid choice. He didn't know much about Prince Qi's trump cards, but he knew quite a bit about the Marquis. If he angered this guy, even the Ji clan, one of the 2 branches of the divine bloodline, would lose a layer of skin. In the Ji family, Lin Yuzhen walked out of the sea of fire. Looking at the figures below, she calmly said, "How is it? Do you need me to lend you my sword?" "No need." Ning Chen shook his head and looked behind him. He said, lend your sword to master." 5 kilometers away, reluctantly took out her vermilion sword. She loosened her grip and warned, "Don't break it. If it breaks, I'll compensate you with a better one." Ning Chen made a grabbing motion with his right hand, and a red light flew out. The moment the red sword entered his hand, it was overflowing with brilliance, and the power of the sword was greatly enhanced. Lin Yuzhen's gaze swept across the 9 black-clothed men and the 4 grand elders of the Ji clan. She said, "How about we switch opponents? You deal with these 9 sneaky fellows." "Sure." Ning Chen nodded. His silhouette flashed as he appeared in the air. "Finish this quickly. I still have a banquet to attend, so I'm very busy," said Lin Yuzhen calmly. Ning Chen nodded and looked at the 9 black-clothed figures. "It'll be over quickly. Dealing with them won't take too much effort." Lin Yuzhen smiled and didn't say anything else. Her figure flashed, and she appeared in front of the 4 grand elders of the Ji clan. The taste of bullying with numbers is really not bad. "Everyone, let the battle begin again," Lin Yuzhen softly said. An instant later, she shot out like lightning. She slashed out with the cry of a phoenix, and her divine power swept out. The 4 grand elders joined hands to block her sword. With a boom, they were all forced back several steps. Seeing the change in the battle, the 9 black-clothed men didn't dare to delay any longer. Chains shot out from their bodies, forming an inescapable net that locked the red-clothed youth in front of them. In an instant, the nether flame appeared once more, and the crisscrossing chains filled the sky. Flames are the best way to purify filth, but they shouldn't be used by you. Ning Chen raised his hand and grabbed the chains. Ignoring the nether flame, He chopped down with his sword. With a bang, all the chains were severed. The fragments of the chains gradually disappeared along with the black nether flame. The nether flame that even true realms didn't dare to touch was actually unable to do anything to the former. In front of the sacred palace, shock flashed across the Ji clan's grand elder's face. Why? Why was it like this? Whoosh! Without the protection of the nether flame, the 9 half-step true realm black-clothed men were like fangless beasts. They could no longer bare their fangs and brandish their claws. Swordlight flashed, and the sky was dyed red. It was so fast that people couldn't even see its afterimage. When the red-clothed youth appeared again, he was already in front of the Ji clan's sacred palace. Behind him, blood spurted out like rain. The heads of the 9 black-clothed figures flew into the air. Even in death, they didn't see what had happened. I'll tell you why. Ningchen looked at the shocked white-clothed elder in front of him and said calmly, "When have you ever heard of a phoenix fearing flames? Nether flame is just a flame with a slightly higher temperature." Just as he finished speaking, Lin Yuzhen, who had sent 4 grand elders of the Ji clan flying with her sword, walked over and looked at the 2 people in front of the sacred hall. She said, "Now it's really bullying with numbers. Brother Ning, you don't mind, right?" "I don't mind," Ningchen answered calmly. Although it wasn't impossible for him to face this old man alone, there was no need to waste his energy when he could bully him with numbers. Lin Yuzhen smiled faintly and stepped forward, instantly arriving in front of the sacred palace. She struck out with her palm, starting the battle. Ji Baichuan's expression darkened. He condensed true yuan in his palm and blocked the former's palm. When the 2 forces clashed, an earth-shattering sound rang out. The stone steps between the 2 collapsed. Even the array's protection was useless. In the aftermath, Ji Baichuan grunted and took half a step back. He flipped his palm and gathered true yuan again, forcibly activating the immortal cauldron floating in the sky. In an instant, a green gold light fell down like a waterfall. "Cauldron? I have one too," Ningchen sneered. A phoenix shadow appeared behind him, and a broken green cauldron flew out. After grabbing it, it smashed into the sky. With a rumble, the 2 cauldrons collided. The ear-piercing sound of the collision resounded through the world. Everyone in White Emperor City covered their ears from the shocking sound. After the collision, the light of the immortal cauldron in the sky quickly dimmed, no longer as powerful as before. The green cauldron fell from the sky. The phoenix shadow opened its mouth and swallowed it. Ningchen walked in front of the 2 and raised the sword in his hand. The sword light was piercing to the bone. Blood kept dripping from the corner of Ji Baichuan's mouth. After receiving Prince Qi's palm and the backlash from the immortal cauldron, his body was seriously injured. "Prince Qi, you should do it. I don't like to kill people." Looking at the seriously injured elder in front of him, Ningchen dropped the sword in his hand. The blood on the sword that hadn't dried dripped down drop by drop, dyeing the stone steps red. Chapter 808. The battle in front of the Ji family's sacred hall had ended. Unexpectedly, the Ji family had suffered a crushing defeat. Blood dyed every inch of the ground. The Ji family's first elder was heavily injured, and the immortal cauldron in the air had lost its luster. Ningchen put down his sword, leaving the decision of life and death to the woman beside him. The corners of Lin Yuzhen's mouth curved into a beautiful arc. This young master Ning was really smart. Raising the phoenix cry sword, Lin Yuzhen stared at the old man in front of her with unconcealed killing intent. Ji Baichuan, reincarnate into a good family. The Ji family isn't suitable for an idiot like you. Lin Yuzhen's phoenix cry sword slashed at the old man. At this moment, a greenish-white figure walked out of a side hall. In the blink of an eye, he arrived in front of the sacred hall and clasped the phoenix cry sword between his fingers. "Prince Qi, please show mercy," said Ji Yuechu. "Sacred Master." Seeing the figure in front of the sacred hall, the Ji family's experts endured their injuries and half-knelt. "You can all leave and heal yourselves," said Ji Yuechu calmly. "Yes." Everyone hesitated for a moment before respectfully accepting the order. "First Elder, you can also leave and heal yourself." Ji Yuechu glanced at the people behind him. Ji Baichuan clenched his fists, but in the end, he loosened them and bowed before leaving. After everyone left, Ji Yuqing walked over from afar. Looking at the red-robed young man in front of the palace, a smile appeared on her beautiful face. She said, "Master Bai, how have you been?" "Miss Ji, please don't blame me. The situation back then was special, so I had to use a fake name. I apologize to you." Ningchen cupped his fists. "Prince Ning is too polite. I was just joking." Ji Yuqing smiled. "So little brother Ning is familiar with my daughter. Why don't you come in and have a chat?" Ji Yuqing smiled. Ningchen glanced at Prince Qi, and a strange smile appeared on his face. "Your Highness Prince Qi, I've completed my mission. Go in and have some tea. Please help yourself." Ningchen didn't say anything else and walked into the hall. "Yuqing, go greet the guests first," said Ji Yuqing. "Yes." Ji Yuqing nodded and walked towards the holy palace together. The Ji clan is truly worthy of being a divine bloodline inheritance. They are truly imposing. Ning Chen's gaze swept across the furnishings in the hall as he chuckled softly. "Young Master Ning, you must be joking." Ji Yuqing walked to the side and prepared a cup of tea. Bringing it over, she gently said, "Miss Ruoshi said the young lord likes to drink tea, so I've prepared some. Please have a taste." "Many thanks." Ning Chen nodded and took the tea. He took a sip and nodded. "It's really good tea. I've made Miss Ji spend a lot of money. Young Master Ning doesn't need to be so polite. A few days ago, Miss Qing came to pick up Ruoshi. I thought young Master Ning really wouldn't come. I didn't expect young Master Ning to surprise us in such a way." Ji Yuqing smiled. "Indeed, she was delayed by something. Where's Wulei? Why hasn't she come out when the fight outside was so fierce?" Ning Chen asked. "Miss Wulei is at a critical stage of her breakthrough. She's currently in seclusion. The place she's at is protected by a formation, so she doesn't know what's going on outside." Ji Yuqing softly replied. "Many thanks, Miss Ji, for taking care of the two girls over the years. I've troubled Miss Ji." Ning Chen put down the teacup. "It's nothing." Ji Yuqing poured another cup of tea and handed it over. Looking at the holy palace, she whispered, "Young Master Ning doesn't seem to care about the situation outside at all. Aren't you afraid Prince Qi and my father will fight again?" "They won't fight." Ning Chen smiled and said, "If I'm not wrong, your father and Prince Qi had planned everything that happened today. Their goal should be to beat up that first elder of yours. The only exception is my appearance." "Oh." Ji Yuqing's expression turned serious. "How did you see through that?" "It's very simple. Although this battle was very intense, none of the Ji family's grand elders were harmed. The only things that were destroyed were a few broken carriages. The reason Prince Qi wanted to exchange opponents with me was probably because he was worried I wouldn't understand the situation and would kill the Ji family's grand elders," said Ning Chen softly. Ji Yuqing's eyes flashed with extraordinary splendor. She praised, "Young Master's wisdom is truly unparalleled in the world. You were able to deduce Lord Father and Prince Qi's plan from just these little clues." "You praise me too much." Ning Chen smiled. "I've seen and used such methods before, so I'm not unfamiliar with them. The two of you outside should be about done with your act. I think I should leave." Ji Yuqing was startled and tried to persuade him to stay. "Young Master rarely visits. Why don't you stay for a few days?" "No need." Ning Chen stood up and shook his head. "I still have some matters that I can't leave for now. Moreover, you and your father will have many things to take care of in the next few days. I presume you won't have time to take care of me." Ji Yuqing didn't try to persuade him to stay. She nodded and said, "Since that's the case, then you should go take care of your own matters. I hope that once you're done with your matters, you can come visit the Ji family as a guest. Yuqing will also be a good host." "Definitely." Ning Chen cupped his fists and bowed. He then turned and walked out of the hall. Lin Yuzhen was silently waiting outside the hall. When she saw him, she asked, "Brother Ning, are you leaving?" "Yes." Ning Chen nodded. "What about Her Highness? Has the matter been resolved?" "It has." Lin Yuzhen nodded. "That's good. Let's go together." Ning Chen smiled. Lin Yuzhen waved her hand and put away her phoenix cry sword. They walked out of the Ji family together. In front of the sacred hall, Ji Yuqing stood silently, looking at the two people walking away. A trace of emotion flashed across her face. Young Master Ning's appearance had truly exceeded her and her father's expectations. Fortunately, they had formed a good relationship back then. Otherwise, today's situation would have been very difficult to control. This child is incredible. True realm experts are rare, and extreme Dao experts are even rarer. Daughter, if you choose him, father will support you. At some point, Ji Yuechu had appeared behind her with a smile. Ji Yuqing came back to her senses, her face slightly red. She calmed herself down and said, "Father must be joking. Young Master Ning already has a sweetheart. I'm just friends with him." Mo Gate's ninth son is a smart person. He has made many enemies, so he knows better than anyone what choice he should make. As long as you agree, I think it won't be difficult, said Ji Yuechu calmly. Ji Yuqing gently shook her head. Father doesn't understand him. Young Master Ning is different from ordinary people. Although the Ji family is large, it can't be the reason for him to change his mind. Let nature take its course. Feelings can't be forced. Ji Yuechu looked into the distance and didn't say anything else. He truly did admire this child. At such a young age, he already had such shocking strength. He wasn't any weaker than Prince Qi. If he could enter the Ji family, in the future, the Ji family would truly become the king of Spirit Void. Outside the Ji family, Ener had been waiting for a long time. She had been walking around the wheelchair for almost an hour. Ener, at this moment, a familiar voice rang out in front of her. It was so clear that it entered the little girl's ears. Ener's body shook. She turned her head, tears pouring out of her large eyes. She immediately threw herself over. You're finally awake. Woo-woo. Ningchen was almost knocked down. Looking at the girl in his arms, he reached out and rubbed the latter's hair. With a gentle expression, he said, You should be happy that you're awake. Why are you crying? Ener raised her head and wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes. She sobbed twice and said, You don't know how hard it was for me when you were unconscious. I had to push the wheelchair every day and couldn't go out to play. You have to make it up to me. Heh, Ningchen chuckled. I know it's hard for you. When I'm done, I'll accompany you to play. You have to keep your word. Ener sobbed. You have to keep your word. Ningchen nodded lightly. On the side, Lin Yuzhen watched the conversation between the two with a trace of a smile. Now she finally understood why this girl had such a good master and talent. But her cultivation was still so sloppy. If the upper beam is not straight, the lower beam will be crooked. She even suspected that this Ningchen didn't properly teach this girl to cultivate. Miss Qing and Miss Ruoxi are also here. It's just that it's not suitable to appear here. Let's go back to Phoenix Cry City first. Lin Yuzhen said. Ningchen nodded and patted the head of the girl in his embrace. Let's go. Ener took a step back and came out of the former's embrace. She looked at the woman beside the wheelchair and said, That's Big Sister Morong. You being able to wake up is all thanks to Big Sister Morong. Morong stood beside the wheelchair with a reserved expression. Her gaze was evasive, and she didn't know what to say. Ningchen walked forward and stretched out his hand. His expression was gentle. Morong, let's go. Morong's body trembled, and her palms were covered in sweat. After a moment, she finally gathered her courage and placed her hand in the former's. Lin Yuzhen faintly smiled and walked forward. Ningchen, I want a new sword. Ener ran forward and hugged the arm of the person beside her. Don't you already have one? Ningchen softly asked. Other masters give their disciples many treasures. You only gave me a wooden sword. Ener pouted. Didn't I also give you that hairpin on your head? It's better than any treasure. Ningchen smiled. This hairpin is just a piece of jewelry. It doesn't count. Ener forcefully quibbled. Then I also gave you a heavenly book. This counts as a treasure. Ningchen continued. That's a cultivation technique. It also doesn't count. Ener curled her lips. Alright then. My things should all be with Big Sister Qing Ning. You can pick whatever you like. Ningchen softly smiled. Ener vigorously shook her head. I've already seen them. They're all ugly. I don't want them. On the side, Morong covered her mouth and laughed. She had heard from Qing Ning that Ener was an extremely difficult girl to deal with. Today, she had seen it for herself. Amidst the chattering of the maidservants, the three of them returned to Phoenix Cry City not long after. Within Phoenix Cry City, people came and went. A beautiful figure in a blue dress stood there. Although many years had passed, her appearance hadn't changed. However, she had become much older. "I'm back." Ning Chen stopped in the middle of the crowd and smiled at the woman in front of him. Chapter 809. At Phoenix Cry Palace, the group of people returned. Lin Yuzhen adjusted her breathing and waited for the people from the Qilin Pavilion to arrive. In Yunchuan's courtyard, Qing Ning looked at the red-clothed young man in front of her and said, "Prince Qi has done his best for your matter. This trip to the Qilin Pavilion might be troublesome. You should go with him." "Okay." Ning Chen nodded. "This is your sword." Qing Ning took out an ancient longsword and handed it over. She said seriously, "This is the sword of the 49 leaders of the Dao sects. You're just keeping it for me. Don't damage it." "I understand." Ning Chen took the Taisher sword and turned to walk toward the Phoenix Cry Palace. Inside the Phoenix Cry Hall, a strange look flashed across Lin Yuzhen's eyes when she saw the former walking over. She said, "You just woke up. Aren't you going to rest for a while?" "Sister Qing Ning asked me to accompany your highness to the Qilin Pavilion, so I had no choice but to come," Ning Chen said. "Thank you for your concern, Miss Qing. This prince can go by myself. A mere Qilin Pavilion can't do anything to this prince." Lin Yuzhen's expression slightly congealed. "I can't make this decision. I don't dare to disobey Sister Qing Ning. If your highness doesn't want me to go, please tell her yourself," Ning Chen said with a smile. As these words fell, outside Phoenix Cry Palace, clouds tumbled and a golden carriage descended from the skies. Two maids respectfully bowed and said, "Your Highness Prince Qi, the pavilion master invites you in." Lin Yuzhen narrowed her eyes, sighed softly, and walked out of the hall. Ning Chen followed with his sword in hand. "Young master, the pavilion master has only invited His Highness Prince Qi," said a servant girl. Lin Yuzhen stopped and said calmly, "This is this prince's personal bodyguard. Could it be that your pavilion also wants to control this prince's personal bodyguard?" "I don't dare." The maidservant who had stopped them earlier lowered her head and said. Ning Chen smiled and followed Prince Qi into the imperial carriage. In the next moment, the chariot flew up and turned into a golden stream of light that shot toward the horizon. The starry sky was brilliant. The imperial chariot continuously tore through the void. In a flash, it was already 10,000 miles away. "Does your highness know where the Qilin Pavilion is?" On the imperial carriage, Ning Chen looked at Prince Qi, who was dressed as a man, and opened his mouth to speak. Lin Yuzhen lightly shook her head and said, "I only know that the Qilin Pavilion is in the Spirit Void Star region, but I'm not clear of its exact location." "How is this Qilin Pavilion compared to the Ji family?" Ning Chen continued to ask. "Of the 11 legendary inheritances, other than the strongest one, the palace, the other 9 inheritances don't appear in any particular order. The 4 pavilions don't appear often, so no one knows how strong they are." Speaking until here, Lin Yuzhen's gaze looked towards the 2 maids in front of the imperial carriage and said, "The cultivation of these 2 people are both at the peak of the Void Realm, yet they only have the status of maids in the Qilin Pavilion. It can be seen that this Qilin Pavilion is not inferior to the Ji family." Ning Chen nodded. He had some experience with the power of the Ji clan. The Ji clan Holy Lord had not made a move, so the power of the Holy Lord's bloodline should not have been used either. Even so, the power that the Ji clan had displayed was already very shocking. In addition to those things that could not see the light of day, it was not strange that the Ji clan could become the overlord of the Spirit Void Realm. For this Qilin Pavilion to be equally famous as the Ji family, they were certainly not easy to deal with. Furthermore, the Qilin Pavilion had chosen the time when Prince Qi and the Ji family were in conflict to send out the invitation. It was obvious that they were plotting something. At the side, Lin Yuzhen gazed silently at the starry sky outside the chariot with a deep gaze. She knew that the Qilin Pavilion most likely did not have good intentions, but before they became hostile, she did not want to offend such a colossus. Facing a Ji family already made her feel strained. If it was possible, she did not want to have another Qilin Pavilion. Ning Chen's gaze looked towards the person beside him, and after a moment he withdrew his gaze. Actually, Prince Qi was very similar to him back then, similarly unable to act independently. He had people that he wanted to protect, and Prince Qi was the same. There were some things that one clearly knew shouldn't be done, but one had no choice but to do it. Ning Chen looked at the sword in his hand and lightly sighed. When he first learned the sword, it was originally for self-protection, but now, it had truly become a killing weapon. Sister Qing Ning had asked him to follow along, and her motive was already very obvious. The favor that should be repaid must be repaid. Your Highness, how much power do you still have left? Ning Chen opened his mouth and asked. 50%. Lin Yuzhen did not hide anything and truthfully said. Ning Chen was silent, and after a moment he calmly said, if the Qilin Pavilion makes trouble, I will protect your Highness thoroughly. When Lin Yuzhen heard what was said, she was first startled, but soon after, she regained her senses and her face revealed a moving smile. She did not know how many years had it been since she had heard this sentence. Then many thanks, Brother Ning. Lin Yuzhen lightly smiled. 100 years ago, she had chosen to befriend this person, because she saw that he had never abandoned that Lady Xianyu. Therefore, when he had put down his pride and went to Shumi Buddhist kingdom to seek Buddha, she had chosen to take a gamble and blocked those venerables for him. Now it seemed that she had made the right bet. She had seen too many ungrateful people, and one could not ask for timely help. If one could ask for it, they would cherish it for the rest of their lives. As the two of them were talking, in the starry sky in front of them, a grayish-white fog appeared, spreading for tens of thousands of miles and covering the world. The imperial carriage tore through the void and disappeared. When it reappeared, it was already in the depths of the fog. In the depths of the fog, there were many floating palaces, like stars surrounding the moon. The centermost palace was 300 meters tall, and was as majestic as a mountain. We've arrived. Your Highness, please. The imperial carriage stopped, and two maids respectfully said. Lin Yuzhen stood up and walked out of the imperial carriage. Looking at the huge palace in front of her, her eyes narrowed slightly. Whether it was a blessing or a curse she would soon know. Ning Chen followed at the side, his gaze sweeping across the surrounding arrangements, carefully memorizing them in his heart. One should not have the heart to harm others, but one should always have the heart to guard against others. The more prepared one was, the more chance one had. Blind confidence would only lead to faster death. Please follow us. The two maids spoke. Immediately, they led the way towards the hall in the middle. Lin Yuzhen retracted her gaze and followed. Her eyes became more serious, and she did not dare to be careless. Qilin's sacred hall. Inside the majestic palace, a dignified middle-aged man sat on the main seat. His powerful aura distorted the void, causing people to look sideways. The two maids led the two of them into the palace, bowed respectfully and left. Peak of the true realm. Ning Chen looked at the middle-aged man on the main seat, and narrowed his eyes. Another supreme expert close to the fourth realm. This person was probably not weaker than the Ji clan's sacred master. Greetings to the pavilion master. Lin Yuzhen cupped her fists and greeted politely. You are a guest from afar. Prince Qi, there is no need to be so polite. Please sit. The Qilin Pavilion master said calmly. Lin Yuzhen thanked him and stepped into the seat. Ning Chen followed and stood behind Prince Qi. He did not say a word from beginning to end, appearing very ordinary. I took the liberty to invite your Highness here. Please forgive me. This cup of wine is my welcome for your Highness. On the main seat, the Qilin Pavilion master picked up a cup of wine and said, Pavilion master is too polite. Lin Yuzhen smiled and picked up the cup in front of her. It should be this prince thanking Pavilion master for the invitation. The Qilin Pavilion master smiled and drank the wine in his cup. Lin Yuzhen's eyes flashed, and she also drank the wine. Your Highness has a good tolerance for alcohol. As expected, women are not inferior to men. The Qilin Pavilion Master smiled. Pavilion Master is too kind. Lin Yuzhen put down the cup in her hand and said, Forgive this prince for being rude, but may I know why Pavilion Master has invited this prince here? The Qilin Pavilion Master smiled faintly and said unhurriedly, Actually, it's not a big matter. It's just that I've heard of Prince Qi's name for a long time, and never had the chance to meet you. Today, I'm fortunate enough to invite your highness here for a few drinks. Also, at this point, the Qilin Pavilion Master also put down the cup in his hand and said calmly, By the way, I'd like to ask if your highness Prince Qi is interested in seeing the mysteries of the fourth realm. Lin Yuzhen narrowed her eyes when she heard this, but there was not much excitement on her face. No one had stepped into the fourth realm for many years, and the existence of this realm had almost become a legend. It would be a lie to say that she was not tempted. However, there was no gratuitous favor in this world. She was more concerned about the price she had to pay. How about it? I think your highness is also very interested in how to step into the fourth realm, the Qilin Pavilion Master said calmly. It's true that I'm interested, but the price should also be quite high, Lin Yuzhen said indifferently. It's not difficult for Prince Qi. The Qilin Pavilion Master looked outside the hall and said, Spirit Void only needs one pavilion. Does your highness understand what I'm saying? Lin Yuzhen heard this before, and her heart shook as she looked at the man on the main seat. The words of this Qilin Pavilion Master were truly world-shocking. There were numerous life stars in the Spirit Void star region, and the sects were even more immeasurable. For the Qilin Pavilion to want to become the king of a region, it was undoubtedly a pipe dream. Apologies. This prince is unable to do what Pavilion Master requested. This prince has no fate to see the secrets of the fourth realm. Lin Yuzhen stood up and declined. She could not get involved in this muddy water. She was not conceited enough to make an enemy out of an entire region. Your highness, why are you so impatient? This prince has not finished speaking. The Qilin Pavilion Master's expression was the same as before. This matter is naturally not something that can be done in a day or two. This prince also knows the difficulty involved. However, as long as Prince Qi agrees to cooperate with the Qilin Pavilion, this matter is not an impossible matter. Cooperation? Lin Yuzhen sat down and picked up the wine cup again. She said indifferently, Just by agreeing to cooperate, Pavilion Master is willing to gift me the mysteries of stepping into the fourth realm. I believe that there isn't such a cheap thing in this world. Your highness is unduly undervaluing yourself. An ultimate powerhouse who has hopes of stepping into the fourth realm is the world's rarest wealth at any time. Of course. After speaking, the Qilin Pavilion Master's tone changed and continued. There are many ways to cooperate. The cooperation that this prince is talking about is not an ordinary alliance relationship. Oh, Lin Yuzhen's expression darkened. Then what does Pavilion Master mean? Marriage alliance, the Qilin Pavilion Master said slowly. Crack. With a crisp sound, the wine cup in Lin Yuzhen's hand shattered. The wine spilled out and spilled everywhere. The Qilin Pavilion Master acted as if he did not see it and said calmly, Let the young Pavilion Master come over. Yes. In the hall, a maid respectfully accepted the order and turned to walk towards the back of the hall. Not long after, a handsome young man walked out from the back of the hall. He came to the hall and bowed. Father, this is Prince Qi of the Baiki Empire, the Qilin Pavilion Master said. Greetings, Your Highness Prince Qi. Lin Chuan smiled and bowed. On the main seat, the Qilin Pavilion Master looked at Prince Qi, who was dressed in men's clothing. He said calmly, How is it? As long as Prince Qi nods, this prince will tell you all the methods to step into the fourth realm. During the banquet, Lin Yuzhen threw away the wine cup in her hand and gently wiped away the wine stains on her hand. She immediately stood up and said indifferently, Brother Ning, let's go. Chapter 8:10. In the vast starry sky, amidst the gray clouds, huge palaces floated up and down. The one in the center was surrounded by stars, majestic and imposing. The atmosphere in the Qilin Sacred Hall was stagnant. The appearance of the Qilin Pavilion's young master, and the intention to force a marriage was obvious. Lin Yuzhen stood up, and didn't say anything as she walked out of the hall. Your Highness wants to leave just like that? On the main seat, the Qilin Pavilion master stood up and said calmly. Why? Lin Yuzhen stopped, and turned around to look at the figure in the hall. She said coldly, Pavilion master still wants to force a marriage? That's not it. However, the Qilin Pavilion isn't a place where your Highness can come and go as you wish. The Qilin Pavilion master said indifferently. Is that so? Lin Yuzhen's expression turned cold as she said. Then this queen wants to see how the Qilin Pavilion will block this queen. After speaking, Lin Yuzhen didn't hesitate as she walked out of the hall. In front of the main seat, the Qilin Pavilion master's eyes turned cold. His figure flashed as he raised his hand to grab the former. The palm force was vast and boundless. Lin Yuzhen turned her head, and a phoenix cry swept across, forcefully blocking the palm force that was close to her. With a bang, endless airflow surged around the two of them, lifting up all the tables and chairs in the surroundings. The aftermath whistled as the two of them separated and stabilized their bodies. Men, capture them, the Qilin Pavilion master said coldly. With a command, figures appeared out of thin air in the originally empty hall. Without saying a word, they joined forces to attack the person in front. With just the two of you, Lin Yuzhen snorted coldly as she unsheathed her sword and stabbed it into the ground. Instantly, a surge of vigorous energy rippled out, and sent the 10 figures that were close to her flying. Go! In a split second, Lin Yuzhen lightly shouted and swiftly rushed out of the hall. Ningchen took a step and quickly followed. You guys can't leave. The Qilin Pavilion master's figure flashed and walked out of the hall. Looking at the two of them who were surrounded, he said indifferently, Your Highness Prince Qi, it's still not too late to change your mind. Lin Yuzhen didn't say anything else. Phoenix Cry sword circulated the energy around her body, and the red light was breathtaking. In the open space in front of the hall, the 10 half-step True Realm and 5 True Realms joined forces to attack. The heavens and earth, caused the surrounding laws to shake. Lin Yuzhen's figure was like a bolt of lightning. Her entire body was surrounded by lightning, as she faced the combined power of everyone. Although his body was not at its peak, Prince Qi's strength was still shocking. Even when the sovereigns joined forces, it was difficult to shake the prestige of a king. With a loud boom, the blood lightning on the Phoenix Cry sword surged, and all the venerables were sent flying a few feet away. When they landed on the ground, they vomited blood. At this moment, in front of the main hall, the Qilin Pavilion took the initiative. The instant they saw that the Qi King didn't have enough time to catch his breath, they gathered vast and vigorous energy in their palms and slapped towards the latter's chest. I have been waiting for you for a long time. The moment the palm struck, a dazzling green sword was unsheathed. It was so stunning that no one had time to react. Rip! His clothes split open and fresh blood splattered. The Qilin Pavilion master did not have time to react, and his left shoulder was instantly injured. Everyone was shocked. No one had expected that Prince Qi's bodyguard, who had always been silent, would erupt with such astonishing power. Who are you? Qilin Pavilion master came back to his senses, and said in a cold voice. Without waiting for the information of the battle with the Ji clan, you recklessly wanted to seize the Qi King. Should I say that you are conceited or stupid? Ningchen looked at the person in front of him, and said coldly. The time set by the Qilin Pavilion was so tight that the Qi King did not have time to recover. However, it also prevented the information of the previous battle from being sent back in time. Don't continue to fight. Think of a way to leave this place first. At the side, Lin Yuzhen suppressed the surging blood in her body and reminded Ningchen. Ningchen nodded and held Taisher horizontally. Immediately, green light blossomed like starlight. The boundless sword intent rose endlessly and shook the heavens and earth. 6 Dao fall together, myriad demonic calamities, supreme forbidden sword. Once he took a step, his body entered the void. 10,000 swords followed, and turned into a sword stream that rapidly descended. Doomsday calamity. When the forbidden technique was used, the heavens and earth shook. The terrifying sword stream that continuously descended from the sky broke through layer after layer of formations and forcefully opened a path of survival. Go! When the opportunity appeared, Ning Chun took the Qi King and turned into a stream of light and left. Chase, we cannot let them escape. The Qilin Pavilion Master turned his palm to block the sword stream and shouted. Yes. The honorable realm cultivators accepted the order and dashed forward in pursuit. Chowyin, take the Yin Yang mirror and chase after them. Do not let them escape from the great cloud formation. The Qilin Pavilion Master looked at the young man behind him and said, Yes. Lin Chowyin nodded and walked into the sacred palace to ask for the pavilion's immortal artifact. The next moment, the sky above the sacred palace was filled with auspicious light. An ancient bronze mirror with the aura of time appeared. Its abnormally powerful aura completely suppressed the surrounding power of laws. Outside the Qilin Pavilion's halls, Ning Chun brought the Qi King and rapidly advanced in the gray fog. They were extremely fast and disappeared in a flash. After walking for a long time, Ning Chun stopped and looked at the gray fog that seemed to have no end. His eyes narrowed slightly. They should be trapped in the formation. On the side, the Qi King slightly adjusted his breathing and recovered some of his cultivation. He looked around and frowned. Is there a way to break it? The Qi King asked softly. Yes, but it will take time, Ning Chun said. The Qi King turned and looked at the Qilin Pavilion people who were chasing after them. He said seriously, this king will delay them. You focus on breaking the formation. Be careful. Ning Chun nodded and moved 1,000 feet away. He formed a seal with both hands and opened the Yellow Springs seal, separating the gray fog and focusing on studying the formation's mysteries. 1,000 feet away, Lin Yuzhen looked at the group of people chasing after her. The phoenix cry sword in her hand became even more resplendent. Thunder surged and turned the area into a world of thunder. Everyone arrived and 5 true realm experts took action. They rushed into the sea of thunder and surrounded their bodies with true yuan as they fought against peerless kings. 13 half-step true realm experts joined the battle and took turns attacking and defending with tacit understanding. Phoenix dances 9 heavens. The phoenix appeared and the sword was like a startled swan. Lin Yuzhen circulated her cultivation and moved as if she was dancing. After images swirled in the air as the phoenix danced in the sky. 2 true realm experts and 5 half-step true realm experts flew out covered in blood and vomited blood. When Lin Yuzhen's true yuan ran out, the other 3 true realm experts' palms arrived. Lin Yuzhen condensed her true yuan and took it head-on. Drip. Blood dripped down and dyed her clothes red. Lin Yuzhen stabilized herself. It was the first time she had been injured since the battle started. She won't be able to last much longer. Capture her. The 3 true realm experts saw this and said in a deep voice. The other 8 half-step true realm experts accepted the order and gathered their true yuan. Their auras connected and formed an overturning force that pressed down on the kings in front of them. Lin Yuzhen wiped away the blood at the corner of her mouth. She looked at the true qi clouds in the sky that were growing stronger and stronger. An extremely sharp light rose from her sword and turned into a heaven-splitting sword that slashed towards the sky. When the 2 extremes clashed, the clouds shattered and the sky shook. The clouds disappeared, and the sword qi collapsed. The 8 half-step true realm experts suffered a backlash and retreated a dozen steps. In the aftermath, 3 true realm experts rushed forward and sent out palms that had been accumulating their true yuan for a long time. Lin Yuzhen held her sword and lightning spread out, blocking the 3 experts. With a boom, the injured Lin Yuzhen retreated a few steps and blood flowed out of her mouth. Looking back, Lin Yuzhen saw that the red-clothed figure was still trying his best to break the formation. Lin Yuzhen withdrew her gaze and slashed her sword with her left hand. Blood dripped down and dyed the divine sword red. Blood dyed the divine blade. The cry of the phoenix seemed to have sensed something. The sword body continuously trembled, and an illusory phoenix image rushed into the sky. The wind howled through the 9 heavens. An instant later, Lin Yuzhen's body moved, and the image of a phoenix charged towards the 3 experts in front of her. Ugh! The three True Realm experts worked together to block the attack and blood splattered everywhere. After repelling the enemy with one move, Lin Yuzhen, who had exhausted all her strength, suddenly staggered and vomited vermilion blood. Your Highness Prince Qi, Chouyin admires you even more. You're still so strong despite your damaged cultivation. As they spoke, a young man with an extraordinary aura walked out of the mist. An ancient mirror that was difficult to distinguish between gold and stone floated above his head. Its aura was so terrifying that it made one's heart tremble. Yin-Yang Mirror. Lin Yuzhen's expression changed when she saw the mirror above the former's head. Since Prince Qi recognizes this mirror, then give up resisting and come back with me. Lin Chouyin smiled. Wishful thinking. Lin Yuzhen suppressed the waves in her heart and raised her aura. Then I can only offend you. The Yin-Yang mirror shone brightly above Lin Chouyin, and a dazzling radiance like a divine sun shone down on the former's body. The immortal artifact had awakened, and its immortal aura was boundless. Lin Yuzhen felt a tearing pain in her three souls, and her consciousness gradually became hazy. The Phoenix Cry sword sensed this, and released a bright red light, automatically protecting her. However, the immortal artifact's power was unstoppable. The Phoenix Cry sword let out a mournful cry, and its radiance dimmed. Lin Chouyin stepped forward and condensed Yuan Qi with a flip of his palm, sealing the former's dantian. At this moment of crisis, the surrounding mist suddenly shook violently and quickly scattered. Lin Chouyin's expression froze, and he subconsciously used the mirror to protect himself. In an instant, the azure sword light pierced through the air and collided with the light. The light and sword qi simultaneously dissipated, and Lin Chouyin retreated 2 steps, his blood and qi churning violently. Ning Chen supported the unconscious Prince Qi, and looked at the young man in front of him with an ice-cold expression. I thought I was already experienced and knowledgeable, but after seeing you today, I finally know what true shamelessness is. Winner takes all. As long as you can achieve your goal, it doesn't matter what method you use. This Prince Qi is useful to my Qilin Pavilion. If you can put her down, you will be my Qilin Pavilion's honored guest. Chouyin can guarantee that as long as you can step into the true realm, my Qilin Pavilion will tell you all the secrets of the 4th realm, said Lin Chouyin with a smile. Ning Chen looked at Prince Qi, who was half leaning in his arms, and then looked at the young man in front of him. Is what you said true? This one can swear it. The smile on Lin Chouyin's face became even more brilliant. Young Pavilion Master's sincerity is truly tempting, Ning Chen said softly, and sent the woman in his arms out. Lin Chouyin's lips curled up, and he took half a step forward to receive her. Unfortunately, I don't care. As he spoke, a terrifying murderous aura erupted, and sword light filled the eyes. Immortal execution opened the Yellow Springs Road again. Chapter 811. Outside the Qilin Pavilion, a gray fog filled the air. Suddenly, a sword light soared into the sky, stunning the world. Inside the fog, Lin Chouyin hurriedly activated the celestial mirror to protect his body. However, the execution immortal sword's sharpness was unparalleled in the world. Ugh! With a painful groan, Lin Chouyin flew several feet away, his blood staining the fog red. His left arm, which had been destroyed by the execution immortal sword, disappeared along with his shoulder. The power of the slaughter immortal sword was shocking. Ning Chen's figure moved again. The execution immortal sword's baleful aura surged as it slashed toward Lin Chouyin. You're the 9th son of the Mahis sect. Lin Chouyin was shocked when he saw the immortal sword in the hands of the person in front of him. He did not care about his injuries, and used the celestial mirror to block in front of him. With a boom, the immortal sword and the celestial mirror collided. Lin Chouyin's body flew out again. The Yin-Yang mirror's light dimmed, and his aura weakened a lot. Impudent. In the Qilin Pavilion, the Qilin Pavilion's master felt that his only son was in danger. He activated the Yin-Yang mirror from a distance, and it shone brightly again. Ning Chen sneered and swung his sword. Then, he took a step and quickly left. The sword light and the celestial mirror's light collided and devoured each other. The Qilin Pavilion's master appeared in the aftermath. He looked at the two people in front of him, and his eyes darkened. He had miscalculated. He had planned for a long time, but it was disrupted by an outsider. In the next moment, a stream of light flashed. The Qilin Pavilion's master waved his hand and brought the heavily injured people back to the depths of the fog. At the edge of the fog rolled and slowly separated. Ningchen quickly rushed out with Prince Qi. In an instant, the fog that had separated closed again and returned to normal. In the vast starry sky, it was difficult to determine direction. Seeing that Prince Qi's injuries were not light, Ningchen did not dare to hesitate and rushed forward with his intuition. Half a day later, Ningchen put down Prince Qi on a barren planet. He took out some healing pills and stuffed them into Prince Qi's mouth. Then he used his phoenix essence to catalyze the pills. After doing this, Ningchen stood up and looked at the stars in the sky, trying to find the direction. He was not familiar with the spirit void starfield. When he was brought to the Qilin Pavilion, he had traveled through space, so it was difficult to determine the direction. As for where the White Emperor star was, or how far it was from them, they had no idea. After waiting for a long time, Prince Qi still hadn't woken up. Ningchen frowned. He gathered phoenix essence in his palm and covered the prince's head. Vast amounts of phoenix essence surged in, searching for the source. Half an hour later, a serious look flashed in Ningchen's eyes, and his mind sank. His 3 souls were damaged. How could this be? Is it that mirror? Ningchen kept his phoenix vitality and murmured softly. Most likely, it had something to do with the ancient mirror. It was not a small matter to injure one's soul. The 3 spiritual and 7 physical souls were the most mysterious things in the human body. Even martial artists could not completely understand their secrets. Once they were damaged, it would be extremely troublesome. Ningchen pondered for a moment before his figure flashed. He transformed into a phoenix shadow and flew towards the starry sky. Phoenix Cry City, inside the palace. After waiting for several days without seeing Ningchen and Prince Qi return, Ruoxi and Morongxi's faces began to show signs of worry. Why isn't he back yet? Yin'er sat in front of the table and was bored out of her mind. Sister Qing Ning, will something happen to the young master? Ruoxi worriedly asked. I won't. Qing Ning shook her head and said, as long as he is prepared, no one in this world can hurt him. But the young master has only awakened one body. His strength has not fully recovered. I'm afraid it won't be easy to deal with a colossus like the Qilin Pavilion. Ruoxi said seriously. One body is enough. Qing Ning calmly said. He only went to protect Prince Qi's safety, not to fight to the death with the Qilin Pavilion. Let's wait a little longer. The Qilin Pavilion is not close to here. He should have been delayed on the way. Nothing will happen to Master. Sister Ruoxi, don't worry. Yin'er lay on the table and said in boredom. As long as he is not unprepared, when have you ever seen Master suffer a loss? Good people don't live long, bad people live for thousands of years. Her bad master was not a good person. He was full of schemes and tricks. He would definitely live longer than a 1,000-year-old turtle. Hearing the two's words, Ruoxi's worried mood was relieved. She sat on the bed and looked at the girl who was about to go crazy from boredom. Yin'er, how long has it been since you last cultivated? I'm worried about Master. I'm not in the mood. Yin'er sat up straight and said seriously. Qing Ning patted the girl's head and said, you only know how to find excuses. I don't know why that senior heaven speaker took a fancy to a girl like you. Because I'm smart. Yin'er giggled and hugged the former's arm. Your shameless personality is exactly the same as your master. Qing Ning helplessly said. On the side, Morong covered her mouth and chuckled. The worry in her heart also lessened a lot. After traveling for more than 10 days, Ningchen and the seriously injured Prince Qi finally found a large planet with life. It was still in its primitive stage. The human race was still ignorant. On the primitive planet, seeing the red figure descending from the sky, tens of thousands of natives knelt down in fear and kowtowed to the gods. Ningchen's gaze swept over the people below. He didn't disturb their lives. His figure flashed and disappeared. Half a day later, in the primitive mountains of the vast planet, Ning Chen searched every inch of land to find medicine for the injured Prince Qi. Because the planet was vast and hadn't been destroyed by humans, Ning Chen found several king medicines. After using his phoenix essence to dissolve their medicinal properties, he had the Prince Qi take them. After waiting for half a month, the unconscious Prince Qi's injuries gradually improved, and he showed signs of waking up. Another 2 days later, Lin Yuzhen slowly opened her eyes. After a moment of confusion, she gradually recovered her senses. The tearing pain was still clear, but it had lessened a lot. Lin Yuzhen sat up with difficulty and looked around at the burning bonfire in the cave. A trace of doubt flashed through her eyes. Where is this? Why is she here? You're awake. Not long after, Ning Chen returned and put down the king medicines he had just found. He looked at the person in front of him and smiled. Lin Yuzhen came back to her senses and looked at the former. She responded weakly. Thank you for saving me, Brother Ning. You're welcome. You saved me once, and I also saved you once. It's a tie. Ning Chen smiled and walked forward. He made the bonfire bigger and said, We were lucky and found a large planet with life. Otherwise, it would really be troublesome. Good people have good karma. Lin Yuzhen smiled weakly. Heh. Ning Chen chuckled and said, We can't be considered as good people. What does your highness think? Your 3 spiritual souls seem to be damaged. I can only help you stabilize your injuries. The rest can only depend on your highness. I'm fine now, Lin Yuzhen said softly. I can recover after recuperating for a period of time. I really didn't expect that the yin-yang mirror was really in the Qilin Pavilion. This item's power is very terrifying and specializes in attacking the soul. If it wasn't for Brother Ning saving me, I might really not have been able to come back. I promised to bring your highness out safely. Now that your highness has suffered such heavy injuries, I've already broken my promise. Ning Chen responded and continued. Does your highness have any plans? The Qilin Pavilion won't let this go so easily. Lin Yuzhen was silent. After a moment she said calmly. Is Brother Ning willing to help me? Oh. Ning Chen looked towards the former and said. What does your highness want to do? Exterminate the Qilin Pavilion. Killing intent flashed across Lin Yuzhen's eyes as she said coldly. When Ning Chen heard that, his hand that was adding firewood paused. Soon after, it returned back to normal. He fiddled with the bonfire and said calmly, The Qilin Pavilion must be joking. Even if I'm willing to help your highness, the Qilin Pavilion isn't something that the 2 of us can exterminate. Your highness should be clearer than anyone else about the foundation that this kind of inheritance can explode out when facing a life and death crisis. As long as the Qilin Pavilion doesn't have the existence of the 4th realm, it's not impossible. Lin Yuzhen said seriously. Your highness should recuperate first. We'll talk about this in the future. After saying that, Ning Chen stood up and walked towards the outside. I'll go and find some medicine for your highness. After saying that, Ning Chen walked out of the cave, and his figure disappeared. When Lin Yuzhen saw that, she sighed softly. She was too impatient. This request was indeed too forceful. This time, Ning Chen was willing to take the risk to accompany her to the Qilin Pavilion. She could not ask for more. After all, the friendship between them had not reached that kind of level. In the cave, the bonfire that was burning was crackling. Lin Yuzhen sat in front in a daze. Because her injuries had not healed, her slightly pale face lost some of its domineering aura, and had more of a weakness that she didn't usually have. Outside the cave, Ning Chen looked at the dense mountain forest in front of him. His eyes that had experienced the vicissitudes of life flashed past, as he walked towards the front. 3 days later, Lin Yuzhen, whose injuries had slightly improved, walked out of the cave, while holding onto the mountain wall, and walked towards the direction of the sound of water. Ning Chen walked back, and looked at the former's back view. He did not walk forward. 3,000 meters away, a beautiful jade pond appeared. The waterfall that was hanging down from the mountain continuously poured into the pond. The surrounding mountains were surrounded by lush green, and the scenery was extremely beautiful. Lin Yuzhen stood in front of the pond, and took off the clothes on her body. Soon after, she walked into the pond. The pond water was bone-chilling, dispelling the fatigue of many days. Lin Yuzhen's entire body submerged into the water, and her mind became clear. Her injuries were no longer a problem, and it was time for her to return to Phoenix Cry City. This time, she had incurred the hatred of the Chilim Pavilion, and the trouble wasn't small. If she were to continue like this, the result would be even worse. That Mr. Ning was indeed a person who valued relationships. However, he was also an extremely rational person. Other than those few people around him, he was clearer than anyone else. If Mr. Ning wasn't willing to help, then she would have to find a new helper. Dealing with the Chilim Pavilion wasn't a small matter, and if she were to ask for help, the price she would have to pay wouldn't be small. Dawn Moon Tower's mistress? Lin Yuzhen stood up and walked out of the pond. This person was indeed not a bad choice. However, businessmen were the most heartless. Without sufficient returns, this person would definitely not make a move easily. Jiyuechu. Lin Yuzhen thought for a moment and immediately dispelled this thought. Although she had cooperated with the Ji family's sacred master once, Jiyuechu's identity was special. If he were to make a move to deal with the Chilim Pavilion, it would mean that the Ji family and the Chilim Pavilion would face each other. This possibility was almost impossible. On the shore, Lin Yuzhen put on her clothes. Her fine black hair casually fell behind her back. Because it wasn't dry yet, it wasn't tied up. In front of the cave, Ningchen looked at the beautiful figure that was walking back, and a strange expression flashed across his eyes. Although he always knew that Prince Qi was a girl, it was still the first time he saw her dressed like this. Brother Ning, let's set off on our journey back. Lin Yuzhen walked forward and said softly. And Ningchen came back to his senses and nodded in agreement. Chapter 8:12. Phoenix Cry City Palace. After waiting for nearly a month, even Qing Ning had a trace of worry in her eyes. It's been too long. Why hasn't he come back yet? Sister Qing Ning, Master is back. At this moment, Ina rushed in from outside the room and shouted. In the room, Qing Ning immediately got up and walked outside. She saw a heavenly boat coming from the distant horizon. Not long after, it descended from the sky and landed in the palace. Qing Ning stepped forward and looked at the figure walking down from the heavenly boat. Why did you come back so late? There was an accident, and I was delayed. Ning Chen's face showed a gentle smile. His Highness Prince Qi is still injured. We'll talk about the details later. Let His Highness go back to the palace to recuperate first. Qing Ning looked over and saw Prince Qi's slightly pale face. She nodded and said, It's my negligence. Your Highness, how are your injuries? It's nothing serious. I'll be fine after a few days of rest. Lin Yuzhen smiled tiredly and replied. Your Highness, you're finally back. In the main hall, Concubine Yun walked out with a surprised expression. She quickly stepped forward and respectfully bowed. Lin Yuzhen nodded and looked at the man beside her. This prince will go to recuperate first. Brother Ning has worked hard for so many days. You should also go back and rest. Ning Chun lightly responded and followed Qing Ning to the west courtyard of the palace. Your Highness, how are your injuries? Concubine Yin was a little worried. Don't make a fuss. Let's talk inside the palace. Lin Yuzhen responded and walked towards the main hall in front of her. In the west courtyard of the palace, Ruashi and the others were anxiously waiting. When they saw a familiar figure appear in front of them, they immediately stepped forward. Sir, Ruashi whispered. Ningchen looked at the three people in front of him and smiled. No need to be so nervous, I'm fine. Einer stepped forward and circled around the former. Her big eyes swept around and suspiciously said, Tell me honestly, why did you come back so late? Did you do something bad? Is this how you talk to your master? Ningchen raised his hand and knocked the girl in front of him on the head, unhappily. Ina held her head in pain and waved her small fist in protest. Then she immediately hid behind Qing Ning. Both of you stop for a moment. Qing Ning looked exasperated. She pulled the maidservant out from behind her and knocked on her head. All right, your master is back. You don't have an excuse to slack off now, do you? Go and cultivate. Then after I finish cultivating, I want Ning Chun to accompany me to play. Ina bargained. All right. Ningchen smiled and said, "Go quickly." Hee hee. Ina smiled happily. Only then did she run back to cultivate in satisfaction. "Just let her be. Even I can't control her anymore," Qing Ning said helplessly. Ina's cultivation speed is already very fast. "When I was her age, I hadn't even reached the Great Circle realm yet," said Morong. Not far away, Ina heard this and stopped in her tracks. She turned around and said, "Sister Morong is the best." Qing Ning glared at her. When Ina saw this, she hurriedly ran away. "Morong, how is the poison in your body?" Ningchen stepped forward and grabbed the arm of the woman before him. His phoenix essence surged into her body to check her injuries. "Fortunately, it hasn't flared up these days," said Morong calmly. After a long time, Ning Chun retracted his phoenix essence and frowned. He wasn't optimistic. The poison had entered his internal organs and was now suppressed by the power of the clear sky lotus breath. However, it couldn't be expelled. "Ning Chun, come with me. I have something to tell you," said Qing Ning. Ning Chun nodded and softly agreed. The two walked towards the pavilion in the courtyard. Morong and Ruashi tacitly didn't follow. They already knew what had happened, but it was better for Qing Ning to tell him. In the pavilion in the courtyard, Qing Ning's expression gradually became serious. She said, "Something happened to Wu Lei." Ning Chun was shocked when he heard this. "What's going on?" Not long ago, the Ji family was suddenly attacked by a group of extremely powerful enemies and suffered heavy losses. 2 grand elders of the True Realm died in battle. We don't know how many True Realm and Void Realm experts we lost. Wu Lei's seclusion room was affected and failed to break through to the True Realm. We don't know whether she's dead or alive. When Ruashi went to pick her up, the Ji family refused to let her in. So far she hasn't seen Wu Lei. I'll go pick her up now. Ning Chen's eyes flashed with a heavy light. Qing Ning nodded and reminded him. Something happened to Ji Yuqing. That's why the Ji family is so sensitive. They won't receive anyone. When you go, try not to clash with them. Ning Chen nodded. I'll be careful. Although Wu Lei and you aren't master and disciple in name, you are. However, if they really don't let her go, you must bring her back by force. Qing Ning sternly said. Don't worry. Ning Chen replied softly. If the Ji family doesn't release Wu Lei, they probably want me to step in. The master of the Ji family isn't a foolish person. It's impossible that he can't weigh the pros and cons. Qing Ning nodded. Be careful. You only have the strength of one person now. The Ji family's affairs are full of mysteries. Don't get involved. Understood. Ning Chen agreed and didn't say anything else. He walked out of the palace. At the same time, in the Phoenix Cry Palace, concubine Yun reported the recent events and waited for Prince Qi's decision. After listening to the former, Lin Yuzhen's expression turned solemn, and he quietly pondered. After a long time, Lin Yuzhen collected his thoughts and looked at His Highness. If I'm not wrong, the mastermind who killed the high priest to sow discord between Beiki and the Ji family has appeared. Concubine Yun's eyes trembled. Does your highness mean that those mysterious experts are the murderers of the high priest? Yes. Lin Yuzhen nodded. In the conflict between me and the Ji family, whoever appeared and took advantage of the situation is most likely to be the mastermind. At first, I thought it was the Chilim Pavilion. However, it seems that these mysterious experts are more suspicious. In the previous few days of acting, she and Ji Yuechu each had their own plans. Her goal was to beat them at their own game and find the mastermind behind the scenes, while Ji Yuechu wanted to take this opportunity to borrow her strength to suppress the great clan elder's bloodline. However, no one expected that the mastermind behind the scenes would have such astonishing strength, causing the Ji clan to suffer such damage. Your Highness, there's one more thing. After the Ji family's incident, Miss Ruashi went to the Ji family to pick up Hong Wulei. However, she was rejected at the door. Until now, we don't know whether Hong Wulei is alive or dead. Concubine Yun said seriously. Lin Yuzhen frowned. Hong Wulei was also affected in this war? Concubine Yun replied softly. It seems that she was affected when she was trying to break through to the reality realm. She failed and suffered a backlash. It's hard to say whether she's alive or dead. Lin Yuzhen's expression changed slightly. Ningchen definitely wouldn't sit idly by if Hong Wulei was injured. He should have already moved. White Emperor City, the Ji family. It was a scene of devastation after the battle. All of the Ji family's experts outside had returned. Ningchen walked over and stopped in front of the Ji family. Looking at two Ji family disciples, he said, "Please report to the Holy Master that Ningchen wishes to see him." "Please wait a moment." One of the Ji family disciples trembled when he saw the person in front of him. He cupped his fists and walked into the Ji family. Not long after, the Ji family disciple returned and respectfully bowed. "Young Master Ning, the Holy Master requests your presence. Please follow me." Ningchen nodded and walked into the Ji clan, following behind him. The atmosphere in the Ji family's sacred hall was stagnant. Practically all of the Ji family's major figures were present. The experts seated below them all emitted an oppressive pressure. Junior Ningchen greets the Holy Master. Ningchen walked into the hall and respectfully bowed. Mo Gate's ninth son, one of the Ji family's grand elders, stood up and said, "You actually dare to come to my Ji family? You really are brazen." Ji Wechu didn't say anything to help. He just calmly looked at the youth below. "Why wouldn't I dare?" Ningchen looked at the Ji family's grand elders. "Those who come are guests. Is this how the Ji family treats its guests?" The grand elders of the Holy Master's faction nodded slightly. They had heard the Holy Master mention this youth before. Ignoring his strength, just his courage was not something an ordinary person could compare to. Although the other youths of his generation had already matured quite well, none of them could reach this youth's height. Mo Gate's ninth son, you buried 9 supremes in the ancient battlefield. Now that I've seen you today, you really are extraordinary, smiled one of the Holy Masters. Senior praises me too much. Back then, I only did it to protect myself, said Ningchen courteously. Scheming and crafty? You're just someone fishing for fame. What's there to be proud of? Sneered another grand elder. Ningchen smiled and ignored them. It was no wonder the Ji family's Holy Master had joined hands with Prince Qi to set up this trap. The Ji family's inner circle was truly not united. All right, let's not talk too much. At this time, Ji Wechu finally spoke. I know why little brother Ning has come, and my Ji family has no reason to stop you. However, that girl is heavily injured and won't be able to move for a while. It's better for her to stay in the Ji family. Oh, when Ningchen heard this, his eyes narrowed slightly, and he said, Then can I take a look at Wu Lei's injuries? Holy Master, why are you still being so long-winded? If he and Prince Qi hadn't caused such a ruckus in my Ji family and injured several of our grand elders, we wouldn't have suffered such heavy losses this time. Capture this person and make him pay with his life for the souls of our Ji family, said one of the Ji family's grand elders furiously. Are you the Holy Master or am I the Holy Master? I don't need you to teach me what to do. Ji Yuechu's expression gradually turned cold. The expression of the Supreme Elder, who had just stood up, suddenly turned extremely ugly. Elder Long, the Holy Master hasn't said anything yet. Are you looking down on the Holy Master's dignity by overstepping your bounds? Said a Grand Elder coldly. The Ji family's Grand Elder called Elder Long sat down with an ugly expression, not daring to say anything else. On the main seat, Ji Wechu looked back at the young man below and said, Miss Wu Lei is recuperating in the United Heart Hall. Men, bring young Master Ning to the United Heart Hall. Yes. A maidservant walked out and bowed respectfully. Then she led the way. Ningchen nodded and turned to follow. Just as he walked out of the hall, Ji Yuechu's voice rang in his ears. Little brother Ning, please wait in the United Heart Hall for a moment. I have something to discuss with you. It's about those mysterious experts who came to the Ji family this time. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.